What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
2I-021. Stussy's surrender, the real horror is the unseen betrayal. ... And at this time, now, you are the only one left. Seeing your companion die, aren't you going to make a move? Bai Ye moved his eyes and looked at the CP0 members present, only the graceful Stussy remained. Hearing this, Stussy covered his mouth with a smile under the fox mask, and said, I never thought of them as companions, besides. Stussy looked at the body of Kales who had been split in two under Bai Ye's feet. Stussy's face sank, then he added with a chuckle. Ah, I value my life very much, if I act rashly. But it will die, right? I don't want to be stupid. Quote. Seeing that Stussy had no plans to make a move, Bai Ye commented unceremoniously. No wonder she is called a cold and ruthless woman. This evaluation is really true for you. Stussy pursed his lips and said with a smile. I'll take it as your compliment, so. Stussy paused, and asked in a startling way. What do you need me to do to save my life? Or do you need me to provide you with information on the world government? What do you think of this condition? It should be a good deal, right? Quote. Due to being in the underground dark world for a long time. Stussy's style of doing things is no longer rigid like the normal CP0. After discovering that the person in front of her is not at all, she can overcome this result alone. Stussy was already considering retreating in advance. After all, for some reason, she is really a life-saving person. Between stupidity and survival, given a choice, Stussy will definitely choose the latter without hesitation. And while Stussy was waiting for Bai Ye to answer, Bai Ye's next words made Stussy's face darken suddenly. Saying life, is it because of being a clone of Buckingham Stussy? The voice was not loud, but it caused Stussy's face to change dramatically. Bai Ye is the time traveler. For Stussy's identity. Bai Ye couldn't be more clear. He remembered correctly. The Stussy in front of me was originally a clone of former Rock's pirate member Buckingham Stussy. It is also the #1 most successful work of the world government's secret research on Mads cloning experiments. At the same time, Bai Ye remembers to follow the intelligence in the original book. Stussy was not a member of the CP0 loyal to the world government from the beginning to the end. This is also one of the reasons why Bai Ye didn't kill him directly. I saw Bai Ye's voice fell. Stussy's pupils under the mask suddenly froze, revealing a look of shock, staring at Bai Ye, subconsciously preparing to make a move. After all, the fact that she's a clone of former Rock's pirate member Buckingham Stussy. Except between her and the top officials of the world government. It should be impossible to spread it. The Bai Ye in front of him, even if it is really the rumored person who was regarded by the celestial dragons as a calamity born in the world. After more than 10 years, it should be impossible for the other party to know these things. Soon, a few thoughts flickered. Stussy calmed down, pretending to be calm and covering his face with a smile. Ah, I don't understand what you are talking about. Don't you understand? Meet Stussy who chooses to be confused. Bai Ye didn't linger too much on this topic either. Instead, he directly stated the conditions for keeping Stussy alive. He wants Stussy to be the eyes of his world government, so that he can get information about himself in the world government at any time. And this was the only reason why Bai Ye didn't kill her in Stussy's eyes. Betrayal of the world government. This is really an amazing condition. Stussy pursed his lips, and said surprisingly. However, if it's just such a condition, you can exchange your life. It may not be a good deal, but. Stussy paused and said, about this, Stussy hinted. As a wise man, Stussy knows some things don't need to be said. Just report what happened here to your superiors. Bai Ye doesn't care about what he does. Because with Bai Ye's current strength, there is no need to care about the combat power below Admiral. No matter how many come, the quantity is meaningless. As for the Admiral level combat power, Bai Ye also wanted to see how much template unlocking progress the soul of an Admiral level powerhouse could provide him. Well, as expected of you. Stussy nodded and said suddenly. If I go back intact like this, it's hard to believe, right? The voice just fell. Stussy's expression changed slightly. I saw that this was Bai Ye raising his hand. A slash flew over suddenly. But Stussy is also cruel enough to himself. This slash almost cut off her arm abruptly. Enduring the intense pain, a trace of sweat came out of Stussy's forehead, and forced a smile. You are really ruthless. You don't know how to respect ladies at all. It's just this level of injury. I'm afraid I'll have to recuperate for a few months. Don't worry, I am very confident in my grasp of power, and what I want is not just information. In exchange, I can make you a real human being, not a clone of someone else. Quote. What? There was a look of surprise in Stussy's eyes. Stussy was a little surprised if the first half of the sentence revealed the true extent of her injury. Then the second half of the sentence is a huge invisible temptation for Stussy. As a clone, although Stussy looks no different from ordinary people. But I believe that no one is willing to be regarded as a substitute or clone of someone. For Stussy, a clone that already has a will of its own. Wanting to be a whole person is nothing more than Stussy's deepest desire hidden in his heart. This is also one of the most fundamental reasons why Stussy is willing to help Doubly Punk lurking in CP0. Now, Stussy didn't expect that this thing she dreamed of would be heard here. And is the queen of the pleasure district in the dark world. The moment Stussy heard that sentence, Stussy, who is good at observing people's hearts, has judged one thing. Bai Ye in front of him is really not joking. And there really is some means by which she can achieve the end she desires most deeply. After a long silence, Stussy raised his head, as if he had made some kind of decision. The attitude changed just now, ignoring the injured arm, leaned down and said. What do you need me to do? Stussy's attitude is completely different from before. Obviously surrender. Seeing this scene, Bai Ye's eyes flashed with surprise. Because he just wanted to try it. Unexpectedly, it touched the deepest desire in Stussy's heart. But think about it. As a member of CP0 under the world government, the immediate boss is celestial dragons and 5 elders. In the original book, there is no need for Stussy to betray CP0 at critical moments, stand on the side of Doubly Punk, and be willing to be a double agent. The only reason of some sort is that Doppelganger promised Stussy something. And that unknown promise, for Stussy is a clone. For her, the importance has surpassed world government. And a coincidence. That's Bai Ye, with the Habach template, and that's exactly what Stussy needs. Under the premise of the soul gift ability, part of the soul donated by Bai Ye will fill the gap in the soul of the toucher, so that the toucher's original psychological or physical defects will gradually heal. This ability, for Stussy is a clone. Nature is no exception. Not long. My lord, when you need to contact me, I will do my best to help you. At this moment, Stussy's attitude had become respectful, and he bent down to look at Bai Ye. From this angle, Stussy can perfectly show off her graceful figure for people to appreciate. In normal times, Stussy would have killed anyone who dared to take a second look. But for the God, who has endowed him with a truly complete soul, I believe that as long as the God nods, Stussy will not hesitate to offer everything he has, even body and mind, for the enjoyment of God. But at this moment, Bai Ye didn't have any idea. Instead, he looked at Stussy, who was completely surrendered, and said something meaningful. The word betrayal of world government just now is not right for you. The betrayal that can be seen is not terrible, the real horror is the betrayal that cannot be seen, right? Stussy heard this, thoughtfully, and said with a smile. It's true that the closer you are, the more you will feel your bottomless horror, it's okay. I didn't choose to be your enemy just now, it was really a correct choice. Quote. 022. Rich harvest, gain new abilities. Thereafter. It didn't take long for Stussy to leave the island under his feet. After all, it is almost impossible for 5 elders to hide the fact that a marine branch is completely wiped out and CP0 members are killed. And whether Bai Ye really surrendered to Stussy. Bai Ye didn't care. Because Bai Ye simply gave Stussy the ability of soul gift and healing. Although part of the separated soul will fill the gap in the soul of the person who touches it, and gradually heal its original psychological or physical defects. But during the gradual recovery of the body and mind of the touche, the knowledge, experience, skills and blooming talents they have learned will all be recorded in the soul fragments that Bai Ye bestows on others. And those who obtain its soul fragments will die in a short time once their bodies and minds are healed. At the same time, the soul fragments that recorded all the abilities in his body will eventually return to Bai Ye. In other words, the price Stussy got, complete, from Bai Ye was to exchange everything he had. Her life and death, from the moment she made a decision. Already destined to be in the hands of Bai Ye. Thereafter. Finish the matter of CP0 now. Bai Ye accidentally found another nail that will never be betrayed inside the world government. At this time, Bai Ye didn't immediately endow Robin with the power of the Quincy and the holy text. Instead, he looked around at the island under his feet, which was full of souls of the dead. Wait until Bai Ye absorbs all the souls on this island. Bai Ye's strength will go one step further than the current one. This is why Bai Ye is not worried that Stussy will report this matter. Because whether it is marine or world government, I'm afraid they never dreamed of sending any force to kill Bai Ye. Their souls after death will eventually accelerate Bai Ye's pace of continuous strengthening. So as to personally speed up the progress of their destruction. Not long. Somewhere in the town. This is from the perspective that Bai Ye can only see. A blue ball of light representing the soul floated out of each dead body, suspended in midair. This scene, like the stars at night, is very spectacular. And these blue light spheres are big and small, which to some extent represent the strength in life, among which the CP0 members who were beheaded by Bai Ye are the most obvious. The smallest one is equivalent to the size of dozens of marine souls nearby. Witness this scene. Bai Ye is very clear in his heart. This seemingly spectacular picture is only temporary. If he doesn't absorb it, it won't take long for these souls to gradually dissipate in this world, completely turning into nothingness. Therefore, as Bai Ye stretched out his hand, his fingers spread open. Visible to the naked eye, a large number of souls began to be continuously absorbed around Bai Ye. Although this is not the first time that Bai Ye has absorbed human souls, it is definitely the highest overall soul quality absorbed by Bai Ye since he left the range of 9 Snake Island. Because compared to the pirates on the Grand Line whose strength is uneven, a trained marine is undoubtedly stronger than a pirate on the whole, and its strength is more average. The most important thing is the few CP0s who were beheaded by Bai Ye. During his lifetime, he was a user of Grandmaster's 6 forms in hockey. Based on this alone, for the pirates on the Grand Line who don't even know the concept of hockey, it is the level of complete dimensionality reduction strike. Don't look at how easy it is for Bai Ye to kill them. If these CP0s are taken out individually, it may be difficult for all the supernova pirates currently on the Grand Line to handle one. One can imagine. At the same time that Marine and World Government sent Bai Ye a member of the Star-Crossed Knight, this time. What a bountiful harvest Bai Ye has gained from this trip. And after Bai Ye absorbed all the souls here, Bai Ye's current template is open black lens bracket name, Bai Ye close black lens bracket. Template. Yohbach. Current unlock progress. 35.4. Abilities. Spiritual parts gathering, flying legs, moving blood equipment, static blood equipment. Inherent abilities. Soul gift contact healing, soul recovery, soul gift holy character engraving, soul recovery sanctification, destruction cross knife. Special ability. Shadow domain, usurp the altar. Close black lens bracket. Inherent sacred text. Omniscient and omnipotent. The progress of Bai Ye's innate Habach template has been improved by nearly 4%. Almost equal to Bai Ye absorbing the sum of the soul power of several pirates. The more important point is, after this incident, Bai Ye awakened a new ability. Usurp the altar. 023. Usurping the altar. For the ability to take everything. Advertise here. It turned out to be usurping the altar. See this newly awakened ability. Even Bai Ye had a look of surprise in his eyes. Because among the many abilities Yohbach possesses, Bai Ye remembered it very clearly. Usurping the altar is definitely one of the most buggy abilities, second only to the almost rule-based holy text. Because of this ability, it is one of the fundamental abilities of people who are known as Yohbach who was born to take everything. The prerequisites for usurping the altar are completely different from soul gift, and even the star medal that can seal Shinigami Bankai. To usurp the altar is not a seal, but a real plunder. Can directly seize the strength of the opponent. Although this kind of plunder is not permanent, there are ways to break it, and it can also be returned, and it cannot strengthen Bai Ye's power. But in Shinigami, seizing the star of the Shinigami Bankai is essentially a small usurpation of the altar. Certainly, although there is no Shinigami in the world of One Piece, there is no Bankai that Bai Ye can capture. But before awakening the ability to usurp the altar, Bai Ye thought of another way to usurp the altar a long time ago. Since usurping the altar can capture the Bankai of the Shinigami in the Shinigami Millennium Blood War arc, then the ability of Devil Fruit should also be taken away in a sense. If you combine the power of the star, man-made demon fruit power, ability user who can use Devil Fruit ability even without eating Devil Fruit ability. Quote. If I'm right, is it possible to create an ability user who has both the power of a Quincy division and no need to worry about being restrained by the weakness of seawater? Quote. Several thoughts that would definitely shock others came to Bai Ye's mind. The characteristic of absorbing souls to strengthen oneself is because it is to obtain the other party's memory, practice experience, and power obtained through practice. Therefore, Bai Ye cannot take away Devil Fruit's ability. But now with the ability to usurp the altar, Devil Fruit abilities, it will also become not incapable of capture. This limitation will be completely broken. If Bai Ye's previous idea is correct, he can do without the hassle of the future 4 Emperors Blackbeard. The original demon fruit power needs to be killed first, and then the power can be seized by some means. Bai Ye can directly take it from any living ability user. And it's not the scariest place. The scariest thing is that Bai Ye can create a demon fruit power that is not afraid of seawater. You can even create a demon fruit power with 2 or more abilities at the same time like the future Blackbeard. Although the prerequisite is that the user needs to be physically strong enough to be able to control a variety of Devil Fruit abilities. But the cap will go far beyond Blackbeard's dual Devil Fruit abilities. In other words, the appearance of usurping the altar. It will completely subvert everyone's perception of demon fruit power in this sea. Just imagine, when Bai Ye led the Knights of the Star Cross with the power of the Quincy, he appeared in front of the world. These members of the Star Cross Knights have various Devil Fruit abilities at the same time. What a scene that will shock the world. At that time, even the Marine government and the world government combined, no matter what hole cards they hide, they will all become meaningless in the face of absolute power. At the same time, with the awakening of Bai Ye, the ability to usurp the altar, once revealed, will shock the world. A secret meeting is being held between naval headquarters and the world government. The subject of its discussion. Naturally, it goes without saying. Whether it was the capture of the Devil's Son, authorized by the world government failed, or CP0 members died. Furthermore, Or about Bai Ye's real identity? Any of the above. Both are events that are worthy of attention by the world government. Not to mention, all these events are now concentrated in one person. 024. 5 elders are shocked. Dispatch admiral level combat forces to dispatch. Advertise here. Holy place. Mariejois. World government. Somewhere in a room that symbolizes holding the highest power in the world. 5 old men sat here. Its identity is the highest leader of the world government on the surface, 5 elders. So, did Marines attempt to capture the Devil's Son fail? Wearing a dark green suit, 5 elders is bald, has a 2-horse-shaped beard, and has a moderate birthmark on his forehead, put down the phone bug in his hand, and his face is slightly gloomy. Failed. The tone of the person who spoke revealed disdain. Wearing a dark red suit, no tie, blonde hair, blonde beard, and a scar on his chest. It was the only person with blonde hair and beard in 5 elders, he snorted coldly and continued. I've said long ago that Marines' power is sometimes unreliable, and even a branch of troops failed to arrest them. If it gets out, it will be a disgrace to the government. The rest of the 5 elders heard this. Wearing a dark blue suit, with long straight white hair and a long beard, 5 elders pondered and said. In any case, the survivors left by the Ohara incident are a hidden danger after all. Although several years have passed, our world government has not given up on arresting them, but now it has failed. 5 elders with a long beard said while turning his head to look at 5 elders with a birthmark on his forehead, saying. With the power of that little girl, it is absolutely impossible to let Marine fail. Could it be that there is another guy in this sea who has the same delusion as Roger? Roger. Hearing this name, a look of coldness appeared in the eyes of several 5 elders in the room. The guy who wanted to advance the era and challenge the world government. Although it has been publicly executed by Marine. But it cannot be denied. The so-called age of discovery that has brought huge troubles to the Marine government and the world government today. Still let that guy use his life to successfully open it. Damn it, if Marine's execution had been earlier, he wouldn't have been taken advantage of by that damn guy. The 5 elders with blonde hair and beard secretly clenched their fists. And at this time, wearing a white Taoist robe, bald, wearing glasses. The only one of the 5 elders who doesn't wear a suit, has a beard, and has a katana in his hand. He looked at 5 elders, who had a birthmark on his forehead, and frowned. The people from Marine failed, but didn't the people from CP0 also intervene in that matter? With the strength of CP0, did they let that little girl escape too? After the words fell, the 5 elders who spoke just now couldn't help but look at the 5 elders with the birthmark on their foreheads. CP0. 5 elders, who had a birthmark on his forehead, saw the gazes coming together, and thought of the content of the phone bug just now. His face gradually became cold and said. The goal is not to escape. Not an escape. The 5 elders frowned, secretly startled. Did the CP0 people also fail? Good. 5 elders, who had a birthmark on his forehead, showed coldness in his eyes, Shen Sheng said in the middle of the other 3's expressions. CP0 on a mission to oversee Marine killed 4 and seriously injured 1. What? There was surprise in the eyes of the 5 elders. CP0 killed 4 people. How is it possible, with the level of strength in the first half of the Grand Line, who can kill CP0? Did the New World guys meddle? The faces of the 5 elders were uncertain. The people who went to oversee the Marine operation CP0 would die, and it still resulted in 4 deaths and 1 serious injury. It didn't seem like a possibility to them. It is a result that should not appear at all. After all, any CP0 member with espionage ability is at least a Grandmaster 6 style user. On the Grand Line, not to mention ordinary forces, even those so-called supernova pirates. People who face CP0 have absolutely no chance of winning. However, that's the absolutely impossible thing. It actually appeared. And it was at the cost of killing 4 people and seriously injuring 1. How can this not surprise the 5 elders present? What exactly is this? 5 elders with long beards and white hair looked at 5 elders with a birthmark on his forehead. 5 elders, with a birthmark on his forehead, looked at the surprised trio. He continued. I know what you're thinking, but the New World pirate forces did not intervene behind this incident. The incident that caused the failure of the Marine capture operation and the killing of CP0 was solved by a young man alone. Is there no influence from the New World? Wait, the guy who took out Marine and the guy who got CP0 was a boy. The 5 elders came back to their senses, and a look of surprise appeared on their faces. The pirates in the first half of the Grand Line are not qualified to fight against CP0 in their eyes. Not to mention convincing them that a teen alone was capable of sabotaging the Marine operation and killing 4 CP0 members at the same time. Is there another Charlotte Linlin in this sea, or someone like Kaido? The bald 5 elders looked cloudy. If it's that kind of talented guy, it may not be impossible. The words fell. The other 5 elders immediately looked at the 5 elders with the birthmark on his forehead. And 5 elders, who had a birthmark on his forehead, felt the eyes of several other people wanting to know the specific things. He put the phone bug back to its original position, suddenly and slowly changed the subject and said. Do you still remember what happened to the Jalowa family in the Holy Land more than 10 years ago? Jalowa family. 5 elders, who was blonde and bearded, frowned. What's the point of bringing up that family at a time like this? Snort. 5 elders with long beard and white hair suddenly snorted coldly and said with disdain. That event back then simply shamed the entire Holy Land, allowing unclean people to join the Holy Land, and also gave birth to unclean blood that symbolizes disaster. That incident even alarmed that adult. Okay. In that family, it was not completely hopeless, and the right choice was made. The bald-headed 5 elders, who was holding the ghost of first generation, frowned and said. Now, why do you suddenly bring up that matter? 5 elders, with a birthmark on his forehead, looked at the group discussing. Suddenly said, though that's probably low. Possible. 5 elders, who was blonde and bearded, frowned. Good. 5 elders, who had a birthmark on his forehead, gradually flickered with coldness in his eyes, and said. The boy who sabotaged Marine's operation to capture the Devil's Son and killed CP0, the most obvious feature is black hair and red pupils, counting the time now, if the boy with unclean blood was still alive. What? The voice has not yet fallen. The faces of the 5 elders, who had already realized the meaning behind it, revealed rare expressions of shock. How can it be, as the bloodline that was thrown off the red line to symbolize uncleanness still alive? Are you kidding me? At the height of the red line. The 5 elders collectively shook their voices. Obviously, none of them wanted to believe that result. 5 elders, with the birthmark on his forehead, spoke slowly. I said it too, it's just a possibility, after all. The 5 elders with the birthmark on their foreheads had a cold glint in their eyes. There is a person born with red pupils in this sea, with the same black hair, and the same age. It is difficult to find a second person with such a coincidence of all the conditions. Damn, that guy who shamed the Holy Land. How did he do it back then? 5 elders with blonde hair and beards gritted his teeth. As the unclean calamity bloodline still alive. After the 5 elders with long hair and long beard was shocked, there was coldness in his eyes. Since it is possible, it is necessary to send someone to investigate, right? And if this matter spreads to the outside world. 5 elders, with long hair and beard, had a dignified expression on his face. That would not only shame the Holy Land, but shame the entire world government. The bald, 5 elders holding the first generation ghost added. It must be completely eradicated. The bloodline of celestial dragons absolutely does not allow any lowly bloodline to get involved. Good. 5 elders, blonde and bearded, agrees. And at this time, the 5 elders, who has not spoken all the time, is wearing a black suit, with white curly hair, a fluffy white beard, a flat hat, and a scar on his left face, opened his eyes. After a brief shock in his eyes, he turned to the other 5 elders and said slowly. Whether this is true or not, the combination of Devil's Son and Calamity is always a trouble that cannot remain in this world. Since that's the case, I remember that the person in charge of the Ohara incident was a Marine named Sakazuki, right? Marine, right. The 5 elders, with birthmarks on their foreheads, nodded. And Marine has submitted an application to the government for Sakazuki's qualification to be promoted to Marine Admiral, and the government is currently considering whether to approve it. In that case, 5 elders, who had a scar on his left cheek, murmured, and said. While the government is sending people to investigate behind this incident, let the guy who Marine didn't clean up cleanly deal with this incident. The voice fell. Shock appeared in the eyes of the 5 elders at the same time. A Marine Admiral who is about to be promoted is actually dispatched to deal with this matter. No wonder the other 5 elders were amazed. After all, Marine Admiral is the highest combat power of the Marine government. Every Admiral is undoubtedly at the level of monsters at the top of the world. The impact of Admiral's dispatch is definitely no less than that of New World's 4 emperors. What's more, dispatch a monster that already has Admiral-level combat power. If the outside world learns that it is to completely obliterate the existence of a teenager. It is conceivable that this news will bring such a terrifying shock to the entire sea. 025. Treasure Tree Atom and Devil Fruit Information. The other side. With the order of the Mariejois 5 elders to the Marine government. Bai Ye had already left the island with Robin. Also, the 5 elders are completely unaware at this time. The nail that Bai Ye planted in world government will never betray almost immediately worked. Almost as soon as the 5 elders made their decision. Bai Ye learned of world government's plans from the phone bug left by Stussy. Sakazuki. Under the blue sky. This is on a small boat. Bai Ye stood on the deck, looking at the phone bug imitating Stussy's expression in his hand. Stussy's voice came. Yes, please be careful. According to CP0's intelligence records, the other party should be the next Marine Admiral, a very dangerous existence. Admiral-level combat power. Hearing this news was enough to shake the Grand Line. There wasn't much surprise in Bai Ye's eyes, but a look of disdain in his red pupils. The world government is really willing to obliterate my existence. Looking in the direction of the red line on the sea, Bai Ye's red eyes appeared indifferently. Celestial dragons, they're all rubbish. Whether it's the 5 elders, or the ugly faces of those celestial dragons back then. Bai Ye can still vividly remember what happened on the day of his birth. But, all this is not long now. That goal, as Bai Ye's strength continues to increase, is not far away. Then, look away. Bai Ye asked the phone bug contacted by Stussy on his opponent. By the way, is there any information about the material of the treasure tree atom in CP0? There is also information about devil fruit. Treasure tree atom. Stussy was slightly taken aback. The voice of the phone bug came out again. Although I don't know what you need to do, I will do everything I can. You may need to wait for a while for these intelligence compilations. No problem. Bai Ye nodded. Find materials for the treasure tree atom. Naturally, to make a ship. Although the boat that Bai Ye is on now is no longer the one-man wooden boat that Hancock and the others were on before. But for the convenience of personal movement, the boats used by Bai Ye are basically small. The scale is at most larger than that of Hawkeye. Now Bai Ye has one more Robin beside him. In addition, it is undoubtedly necessary to take into account that the number of members of the Star-Crossed Knights will continue to increase in the future. This kind of ship is naturally not suitable, although you can directly snatch Marines' warships. But that kind of bulky large warship is extremely inconvenient to use. One cannot control it at all, obviously not in line with Bai Ye's expectations. So Bai Ye decided it was time to build a boat. According to Bai Ye's idea, it is a medium-sized pirate ship like Straw Hat Crew. It can accommodate dozens of people, neither too big nor too small, it is the most suitable. As for the devil fruit news that Stussy was looking for. Naturally, it was intended for usurping the altar. Demon fruit power. Don't look at the original book where there are a lot of appearances. But Bai Ye is very clear. Pirates on the first half of the Grand Line. The number of demon fruit power is not much at all. This can be seen from the fact that after Bai Ye left the Nine Snake Island area, the number of capable users he has encountered so far can be counted on one hand, Madara. Furthermore, get rid of some junk fruit abilities. If Bai Ye is really going to rely on luck, he doesn't know how long he will have to wait. Akainu's devil fruit ability is a nice one though. But according to the information Bai Ye knows, there should be a very powerful devil fruit on the Grand Line right now that hasn't been eaten yet. It's just that ordinary ships want to reach that place at an altitude of 10,000 meters. I'm afraid it can't bear the impact of that kind of water pressure at all. This is one of the reasons why Bai Ye seeks materials from the treasure tree atom to build a ship of his own. Not long. Stussy's voice came again, not disappointing Bai Ye. I found it. In the auction site of the underground Dark World branch of the shipbuilding Holy Land, capital of Seven Waters, there will be materials for the treasure tree atom on sale next Monday. However, according to intelligence, many people are also eyeing this material. But I believe this is not a problem for you, but there is one person among those competitors that you need to pay attention to. Quote. That person is known as a natural destructive weapon. It is the strongest move of Elisabello II of the Kingdom of Prudence. It is rumored that a single blow can instantly penetrate the enemy's fortress. Killed on the spot. Ah. Stussy stared at the information in his hand, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Although I just don't know if it's true or not, I'm afraid I'm too worried. Stussy said through the phone bug that in the end, Stussy himself couldn't believe it. Although she didn't know exactly how this outrageous information was collected by CP0. But Stussy still told Bai Ye verbatim according to CP0's intelligence database. In addition, the news about devil fruit has been checked recently, but if there is any news, I will notify you as soon as possible. Good. Bai Ye nodded. He is not in a hurry about devil fruit. This thing also depends on luck. And even without. It won't be long before a very powerful devil fruit ability will come to your door. The priority now is to get the materials of the treasure tree atom. The capital of the Seven Waters. With the time until next Monday, about 5 days is enough. There was a murmur in my heart. Hang up on Stussy's phone bug. Bai Ye looked at Robin. During these 5 days of sailing. Coincidentally, by the way, Robin was given time to fully adapt to the power of the Quincy. At that time, Bai Ye can consider another matter. Holy text bestowed. 026. The shock of the sea, Bai Ye's reward. ... Time moves. In just a few days time flies by. This is normal for this piece of sea. However, just in a few short days. The entire Four Seas, Grand Line, and even New World caused quite a stir. It was on the Grand Line that an unprecedented bounty was born. Hey, this is not a joke. Son of the Devil has escaped Marine's capture again. The reward has also been increased from the original 79 million Baileys to 180 million Baileys. Hiss. This level of reward already surpasses those supernova pirates on the Grand Line, right? But that's not the most important thing. It's insane to hear that someone blatantly sabotaged the capture of Marine. If I remember correctly, anyone who dares to help the Devil's Son will attract the absolute destruction and revenge of the world government. It's really curious, what is the reward for that guy? All over the world, people everywhere are discussing. In a bar somewhere, suddenly someone ran out with a look of horror. Come out. What happened? So flustered. Could it be that your hometown was destroyed by pirates or marines? Ha ha ha. Everyone looked at the panting young man and laughed. No, it's not. The young man shook his head quickly, holding a reward issued by the marine government. It took a long time to calm down the shock in my heart. Then everyone in the bar fell into shock and said, "It's the guy who sabotaged Marine's operation. Hi, Marine's bounty has been released." What? How many? Everyone's movements stopped suddenly, and they looked at the young man curiously. The other side. North Blue. Don Quixote family stronghold. Dover. I say, it's amazing. Somewhere above the rooftops of a ruined town. Wearing a cloak with a circle that resembles a quilt, holding a cane with a plum blossom logo, and a man wearing a pair of small sunglasses looking forward. Standing in front of him was a blond young man with twitching fingers, wearing a black suit and sunglasses. The man laughed and said, Hey, on the Grand Line, Marine actually released a reward for a boy. I'm afraid even those big pirates in New World would be jealous of this amount, right? Juvenile. The blond young man, who was admiring the people killing each other in pain below, became a little interested. Torrebel, what is the reward offered by the other party? Hey, Dover, I said, you won't believe it. Torrebel was so excited that he didn't say it directly. Instead, he handed Doflamingo the newspaper in his hand. Seeing this, Doflamingo took over the newspaper from Torpal, a cadre representing the plum blossom. Doflamingo glanced over it. Next second, under the Doflamingo sunglasses, his eyes are slightly condensed. Moment. Doflamingo let out a unique, foo, laugh and said, Interesting, really interesting, has the Marine government, which always thought it was on the side of justice, also fallen? It actually issued this kind of reward. This bounty, even the guys who have already entered the New World, can't sit still and be jealous, right? Foo. Quote. New World. Somewhere the pirates are stationed. Are you kidding me? Are those Marine guys looking down on Lousy? A kid who hasn't entered the New World yet, how can he get this bounty? Damn it, those idiots in Marine are underestimating Lousy. A pirate captain tore the newspaper in his hand to pieces angrily. The many pirates under his command looked at the angry captain and could only tremble. And this scene with each other. The same is happening among the scattered pirate groups in New World. Cause. It is from them that the pirates of the New World woke up. Suddenly, he discovered that he had raised the bounty by slaughtering towns or seizing territory. Overnight, unexpectedly being offered a reward by a boy who has not yet entered the New World. How can this make them accept it? Amount of bounty. Although the bounty issued by Marine. But in this era of pirates, Marine's bounty is undoubtedly a tacit status symbol among pirates. The higher the bounty in Marine, it means that their status among pirates is higher. One can imagine. They've worked so hard to increase the bounty on Marine's side. Overnight, he was surpassed by someone who had never set foot in New World, and he was still a teenager. In the eyes of most of the captains of the pirate group, this is simply a great shame to them by Marine. Could it be that they are pirates who have worked so hard to reach the New World? In Marine's eyes, is he less threatening than a teenager? What are you kidding? And have this idea, with the rapid spread of the reward order. It also began to enter the sight of some of New World's top pirate groups. For example, immediately in New World, it has been hailed as the Emperor's reign in New World, and the pirate group known as the Emperor of the Sea. At the same time, Nine Snake Island, a training ground somewhere. A girl with amazing charm is practicing. Suddenly. This is where two girls broke into this place. My lord. Have you read the latest news today? The two girls were very excited. Hancock, who was practicing, heard the words and looked at the two younger sisters with doubts in their eyes. Really? Sana Sonia and Marigold exchanged glances. The two smiled tacitly as sisters. Road. My lord, we have heard news about my brother, he. Sister, do you want to know? What? Hancock was taken aback for a moment, and when he came back to his senses, there was a hint of urgency in his eyes. Hancock immediately returned to his usual demeanor, and glanced at the two younger sisters. Who? I don't care about it. Sonia and Marigold heard this, they smiled and said. Really? Quote. Hancock subconsciously nodded vigorously. But immediately, he noticed the vaguely familiar teasing eyes of the two younger sisters. Hancock immediately showed the majesty of being a sister. You two, even dare to tease my concubine sister, you are too courageous. Laugh. Sonia and Marigold didn't forget to stare at the newspaper in their hands when their elder sister was talking. The two girls couldn't help but smile. And in the palace of Nine Snake Island. Shaki, that's amazing, you've read the paper, haven't you? The mother-in-law's face was slightly dignified. Shaki nodded. The mother-in-law continued with a dignified expression. Although you and I both know that the bounty is not exaggerated, first didn't expect Marine to realize the threat of that kid in such a short period of time. I'm really worried. Shaki exhales smoke from a lady's cigarette. Interrupting Granny Yi, Shaki smiled and said. Are you referring to the reward of 1,070,000,000 Baileys? Don't worry. Shaki looked at Granny Z's dignified face, and continued. This is both a threat and an opportunity, and I'm afraid no one will believe it when I tell it. In fact, I have fought against that little guy when he was 12 years old. What, have you fought against that kid? Grandma Z was startled suddenly, and looked at Shaki. How is it going? Shaki looked at the shocked mother-in-law, chuckled lightly and said. I've said it all, and I didn't believe it when I said it. Although it was a tie at the time, I could feel that the little guy hadn't used his full strength. Tell me, would anyone believe such a thing? You know, that little guy was only 12 years old back then. Quote. After some exclamations, Shaki looked at Grandma Z. When the mother-in-law heard this, the seriousness on her face was replaced by shock on the spot. Shaki's strength, my mother-in-law, is still clear. But it is precisely because of this. If these words hadn't come out of Shaki's mouth, my mother-in-law would never believe it. After all, at the age of 12, she could have the strength to draw with Shaki, the current empress, and even let Shaki tell the result that Bai Ye may not have shown her full strength. In the eyes of my mother-in-law, this is simply impossible. But looking at the corner of Shaki's raised mouth, even if the mother-in-law didn't believe it, she had to admit that fact. Then, it was Granny Yi who immediately realized another thing. If the 12-year-old Bai Ye had the strength comparable to a monster, today's Bai Ye, how strong should the real strength be? The mother-in-law couldn't help being shocked secretly. 027. Capital of 7 waters. The other side. Seagulls flit across the sky. As a city standing on the sea and blue sky comes into view. It is worthy of being a city designed on the prototype of Venice, the capital of water. This is a small boat. A combination of a boy and a girl looked at the sea city in front of them. The boy said approvingly, although it has not yet entered the capital of 7 waters. But stand here. Bai Ye can already see the rather complicated waterways in the capital of 7 waters not far away. In addition to the transportation on the flat water surface, there are also huge waterways extending from the capital of water like a fountain from a high place. Have to say, this scene is quite spectacular. Corresponding to it, nature is the prosperity of the capital of 7 waters. Recognized as a shipbuilding mecca on the Grand Line. The size of the capital of 7 waters has surpassed many kingdoms divided by islands. After all, just one port can easily dock hundreds of large ships of various types, and there is still enough distance between them. This point alone is difficult for many kingdoms on the Grand Line. In a sense, the size of a port is enough to determine the size of a kingdom. Naturally, the number of ships docked is sufficient. In this age of pirates, friction is unavoidable. What's more, the capital of the 7 waters itself is an extremely complicated place. As a holy place for shipbuilding, not only pirates, marines, but also bounty hunters are attracted by its name. Therefore, from time to time, you can see the scene of marine chasing pirates all over the street. There are also scenes of bounty hunters fighting pirates and so on. But this kind of scene is not very common. Because most people come here for only one purpose. Shipbuilding. Whether it is marine, a large warship costing as much as 100 million berries. Or, in order to enter the New World, the pirates want to get a ship that is strong enough to handle the strange weather of the New World. Furthermore, some kingdoms came to purchase warship orders and so on. So there is a tacit understanding between these intertwined forces. That is, you can't do it easily in the capital of 7 waters. Otherwise, once the shipbuilding progress is delayed, no one can predict the subsequent changes. And at this time, are you familiar with it? Bai Ye looked behind Robin. Robin nodded. Okay, we should go in. Robin is very talented in the obliterator. Come down these days. Robin is already proficient in using static blood suit and dynamic blood suit. Bai Ye naturally saw the desire to become stronger. Bai Ye was naturally very satisfied with this. After all, no one does not want his subordinates to become stronger. What's more, the stronger Robin is, the stronger Bai Ye's overall strength will be. However, as Bai Ye, a ship that looked like a flatboat compared to other large ships, slowly entered the port. A loud noise came from the front. Hey, you guys. Lousy is a big pirate with a reward of 60 million Baileys. With the bounty offered by your pirate group, you deserve to let Lousy get out of the way. 60 million Baileys. What qualifications do you have to let Lousy give up? Lousy's reward is only 5 million Baileys lower than yours. Do you want to fight here? This is the meeting of 2 pirate ships, arguing over a mooring zone. Obviously, although the port size of the capital of 7 waters has surpassed most of the kingdoms on the Grand Line. But due to the name of the Holy Land of Shipbuilding, friction among pirates who came eager for a new ship was still unavoidable. On the one hand, the docking position is related to the speed at which the pirates are looking for the shipwright. On the one hand, the pirates with similar rewards meet. The same position was spotted again. If one of the parties chooses to retreat, in a sense, it was equivalent to showing his fear in front of his subordinates in full view. How can the captain of such a pirate group lead his subordinates once word spread? Bai Ye witnessed this scene. Ben didn't bother to pay attention. But unexpectedly at this time, the two pirate groups who were arguing suddenly noticed the small ship under Bai Ye's feet coming behind. The two pirate ships were at a stalemate, but the pirates who didn't want to do anything seemed to have found a breakthrough. Hey, that ship, what qualifications do you have to come here? Didn't you see that lousy was about to make a move? Get the hell out. That's right, this place has already been spotted by our Skyhawk pirates. How dare an unqualified guy intervene in our dispute? Hey, how about that? The one-eyed burly pirate on another pirate ship suddenly discovered that a boy was standing on that boat. The one-eyed burly pirate didn't think too much. Instead, he looked at another pirate ship, with a ferocious expression on the corner of his mouth, and said, "Hey, I think it just so happens that we don't fight for this place. Let's make a bet." Bet. That's right, whoever sinks the overwhelmed boat behind first will use this position to anchor. What do you think? The one-eyed burly pirate suggested. His reward is 60 million, and the other party's reward is 55 million. The reason why the two sides did not act immediately. Naturally, neither of the two dared to ensure that they would win. After all, it's good to win, and the fame can rise again. But if you lose, in the capital of Seven Waters, where many pirate ships are docked, even if they survived by luck, they are not eligible to regroup in the future. So, the arrival of Bai Ye has naturally become a step for the two of them. I saw another bearded pirate hearing the words. Look at the boat. There was a fierce light in his eyes. He secretly said in his heart, "It's just you kid, who made your kid so unlucky that he just came here." So he nodded without hesitation. Okay, then whoever sinks that ship first will use the mooring position here. Okay, since it's agreed, no one should go back on their word. The one-eyed burly pirate was overjoyed when he heard the words. However, just when the two were about to order their men to fill the shells, swish, there was no sign of it. It was an arc that tore through the air. Follow closely. Boom. Single quote. Accompanied by huge vibrations, water splashes. The two pirate ships have not yet had time to react. Fat. What happened? The faces of the two pirate captains who were discussing changed. Suddenly, the pirate ship under their feet was unexpectedly split into two at the same time. Subconsciously looked around. Asshole. Did you shoot lousy? How is it possible? This kind of thing. The bearded pirate said in horror. How could lousy do it? What the hell is? The bottom of my heart couldn't help but panic. Sudden. The bearded pirate noticed that the boy on the small boat had a black knife in his hand at some point. His face changed dramatically. No. No way. Could it be that brat? An unbelievable thought emerged. Next second, looking at the vaguely familiar black cloak, black hair, and those red pupils that even the most powerful pirates dare not look directly at. The bearded pirate was startled suddenly. In this short moment, he remembered a reward order he had seen this morning. Follow closely. It was an uncontrollable fear rushing straight from the soles of his feet to his forehead. Could it be that the brat was offered a reward by Marine? Thoughts came to mind. Pity. With the crash of the pirate ship under his feet, the two pirates were completely engulfed by the sea almost at the same time. And this kind of action, naturally, cannot be hidden from the large number of pirate ships moored near the port of the capital of Seven Waters. Over there, what happened? Two pirate ships suddenly disintegrated. What the hell is? Various thoughts came to the minds of the forces moored at the port. And at this moment, Bai Ye had already put away the extinct cross knife. Like doing a trivial thing. Looking at Robin, he said. Let's go, there are still things waiting for us. After speaking, Bai Ye noticed that Robin subconsciously concealed his identity. Chuckled and said, my people don't need to hide in the dark anymore, besides. Bai Ye noticed several gazes coming together. He continued without hesitation. This kind of thing happened just after I came here, even if I want to hide my identity, it's meaningless at all. 028. Invisible storm. Advertise here. At the same time. With the boat under Bai Ye's feet slowly approaching the shore. At this moment, the entire originally noisy port of the capital of Seven Waters gradually began to quiet down. The quarrel between the two pirate groups trying to compete for the berth just now never happened again. Or a scene of conflict is staged. There is no other reason. The movement just now has attracted the attention of most of the forces in the port of the capital of Seven Waters. So when most people began to see a small boat slowly docking from the wreckage of two large pirate ships, two young figures coming down from above, almost the whole port finally fell into dead silence. And once this deadly atmosphere appeared, it wasn't until the two figures disappeared from the port that someone came back to their senses. Swallowing saliva subconsciously, he spoke in disbelief. No, it can't be wrong. That outfit, and that kind of aura that just stands there, exudes an aura that must not be provoked. The boy just now should be the person on the bounty that Marine posted these days. 1,080,000,000 Bailey's bounty guy. Hearing this, someone thought of the newspaper they read this morning, and their hearts were shocked, and they couldn't believe it. Quote. What kind of joke is this? That dangerous guy, what are you doing in the capital of Seven Waters? After the voice fell, the pirate who had reacted suddenly changed his face and said, "Wait, that guy appeared here with great fanfare. It won't take long for Marine to get the news, right?" Marine. Hearing this word, the faces of most of the left-behind personnel who docked at the port of the capital of Seven Waters changed drastically. Yes, usually, their small fights will attract Marine's arrest. But the local Marine will choose to turn a blind eye after all. After all, everyone is here to build ships. If Marine launches a large-scale arrest, it will cause fierce resistance from a large number of pirates. It is extremely difficult to end in the capital of Seven Waters, where the forces are already intertwined. This is one of the reasons why most pirates don't worry about Marine hunting. But like the arrival of Bai Ye with a lot of fanfare just now. Not to mention that there is a reward of 1,080,000,000 Bailey issued by Marine on Bai Ye's head. Think of that possible outcome. The faces of those left behind by the forces on the scene changed drastically. If Marine knows what happened here, will you really choose to turn a blind eye and close one eye as usual? That answer, although many forces present did not want to believe it. But it's about to come out. Thinking of this, most of the pirates who stayed behind quickly took out the phone bug. At the same time, Bai Ye's impact on his landing in the capital of Seven Waters is not clear. But even if he knew, Bai Ye would not care at all. Although the purpose of this trip is for the material of the treasure tree atom. But Bai Ye did not intend to go through the normal auction process. And, the Akainu thing is a problem after all. Bai Ye is not a person who likes to leave immediate troubles for later. Now that the other party has already set his sights on his life. Instead of not knowing when to meet, it would be better if Bai Ye offered to deliver it to your door. After all, Akainu was ordered by the 5 elders to want his life. After Bai Ye awakened and usurped the altar, why didn't he want the lava fruit ability on Akainu? And at this moment, the auction house time is 5 p.m. Bai Ye arrived at the capital of Seven Waters 3 hours earlier. Therefore, after Bai Ye and Robin have found a foothold. So I took Robin to the commercial street of the capital of Seven Waters for a stroll. On the one hand, it can provide some supplies for the new ship to be built. Let the next sailing life not so monotonous. The main reason is that Bai Ye is tired of eating fish. Although the fish is delicious, but if you eat fish every day, it is time to change the taste. On the other hand, it was Bai Ye who really wanted to take Robin to witness the prosperity of the capital of Seven Waters. Travel from birth to the world under your feet. Bai Ye has basically lived within the scope of Nine Snake Island. Never really set foot outside. The capital of Seven Waters is one of the most prosperous cities on the Grand Line. It is also a city designed based on the prototype of Water City Venice, on the Blue Star in Bai Ye's previous life. Given enough time, Bai Ye naturally doesn't mind taking a stroll. Certainly, because of the movement Bai Ye made when he first came to the capital of water. Along the way, it is inevitable that there will be prying eyes from time to time. In this regard, Bai Ye's attitude has always been indifferent. Although in the process there are some bounty hunters who get carried away by the bounty. But without Bai Ye's action at all, Robin was able to get rid of these people quietly. In general, 1 hour before the auction starts, Bai Ye's trip to the city of water was pretty good. Next, it's time to get down to business. Bai Ye led Robin to a stop. I came to a shipbuilding company with people coming and going. Here, not anywhere else. It is the largest shipyard in the water capital, with multiple docks, none of them. And the shipyard under his command is led by Bingshan, the mayor of the city of Seven Waters. It is also the place with the highest shipbuilding craftsmanship in the entire water capital. Didn't know the blueprints for Pluton were still around. Bai Ye looked up at the GC logo above the shipbuilding company. Then he took Robin and walked in amidst the shocked faces around him. Although there is no material at hand. But Bai Ye wanted to discuss the matter of the boat in advance. Wait, if you want to see the president, you must make an appointment in advance. Along the way, there are GG employees blocking. But Bai Ye didn't need to do it. Robin has controlled it using the devil fruit ability. In this place where it's basically just normal people. Plus the CP9 guys haven't been eyeing the Pluton blueprints yet. Bai Ye arrived at Bingshan's office very smoothly. Afterwards, Bai Ye came into sight. Inside the shipyard office. This is a man in his late 30s. Blue-purple hair, a beard on the chin, wearing a striped suit, Go Yanjiao, with a mouse in the front pocket of the clothes, looking at the city of Seven Waters below. See the arrival of Bai Ye and Robin. There were not many changes on Bingshan's face. Or rather, as the mayor of the capital of Seven Waters, Bingshan arrived at the capital of Seven Waters from the moment Bai Ye arrived. He already knew about the existence of Bai Ye, combined with their own shipbuilding experience. Bingbird can already guess. The red-eyed boy and girl in front of the Grand Line have been shaking the Grand Line for the past few days. Sooner or later you will find yourself. I want to ask you to help build a boat. Bai Ye's purpose was very direct, and when he saw Bingshan opened his mouth, he expressed his request. Building a ship. But from your arrival, can I understand it as a threat? Bingshan got up, trying to see something from Bai Ye's eyes. But the moment they looked at each other, Bingshan looked away while secretly startled. What exactly is? Bingshan himself also thinks that he can be counted among countless people. But Bingshan had never seen that kind of eyes. No fluctuations can be seen in those deep eyes, or there is a horror hidden under those eyes that is enough to make anyone's heart palpitate. Almost subconsciously, Bingshan touched his forehead. I was shocked. When, seeing the cold sweat on his hands, Bingshan's expression changed. But the iceberg quickly calmed down. Said, although I know that you may not believe it, your arrival has already attracted Marine's attention. It will not be long before Marine will dispatch forces to destroy you. Under this premise, are you sure you still need a new ship? Quote. After finishing speaking, Bingshan looked at Bai Ye again. Yes, how long does it take for a ship at the fastest? When Bai Ye spoke, it was beyond Bingshan's expectations. Bingshan couldn't see any fluctuations on Bai Ye's face after knowing that Marine would come. As if, like you know a little thing. As expected of a monster with a bounty of 1,080,000,000, doesn't he care about Marine? Bingshan secretly said in his heart. Answered truthfully. It takes at least 1 month for a large ship, and half a month for a medium-sized ship. This requires the volume of the ship to calculate the time. Half a month. Bai Ye was thoughtful, and then told Bingshan about his need for a new ship. Bingshan finished listening. His face changed slightly, and he was silent for a moment, before Bingshan gave an answer and said. 7 days. That's the fastest. 7 days. Behind Bai Ye, Robin was secretly surprised. Build a new ship. It only takes 7 days. Although the size of the ship requested by Bai Ye is not too large, it is also smaller than the medium-sized ship. But judging from the attitude that Iceberg can guarantee. No wonder the city of 7 waters is known as the holy land of shipbuilding. In other places, according to Bai Ye's request, I am afraid that at least 10 days and a half months are impossible. But in the capital of 7 waters, 7 days are enough. But just when Robin was secretly surprised, Bai Ye suddenly asked again. Is 3 days enough? What? 3 days? Bingshan's expression changed. How could it be too late? However, before Bingshan finished speaking, Bai Ye said slowly. The 3 days I'm talking about is the time limit for mobilizing all the artisans under your command. Impossible. Bingshan vetoed. Now the capital of the 7 waters has huge shipbuilding orders, not only pirates, but also marine ships, and, even if I can do it, those pirates and the people behind some forces will never agree this matter. Rest assured. Hear Bingberg's concerns. Bai Ye said slowly with a tremor in his heart. I will help you solve those who are looking for trouble. Just follow my request, and the materials will be sent to you later. As for those who are dissatisfied, you can let them come to me anyway. Quote. After finishing talking and dealing with the shipbuilding, Bai Ye took Robin to the auction site of the underground Dark World branch. The iceberg that stayed in place hesitated to speak. But looking at the back of Bai Ye, who left without giving any room to refuse, Bingshan couldn't help but think of the indifference that flashed in Bai Ye's eyes just now. Bingshan stood for a long time and sighed. As a mayor, I have met many people. Bingshan can hear it naturally. The boy in front of me just now was really not joking. But, think of the forces behind those cut-off orders. Bingshan was still a little uneasy in his heart. After all, as a shipbuilding mecca, those orders are not limited to the Grand Line. Bai Ye's move undoubtedly offended pirates, marine, and even the underground Dark World, as well as some New World kingdoms. However, if you don't do what Bai Ye asks. Iceberg looked towards the direction of the port outside the window, the wreckage of the pirate ship floating in the sea. Bingberg has been aware of it. An invisible storm, with the arrival of Bai Ye, has quietly descended on the capital of 7 waters. 029. Akainu leaves and the auction begins. At the same time. Naval Headquarters. Marineford. Marshal's Office. Sengoku. Sakazuki's Admiral promotion application has just been approved from the world government and will be announced tomorrow. At this time, should we still insist on dispatching Sakazuki? Quote. Crane Vice Admiral looked a little dignified. Standing in the office, she looked at Marine Marshal Sengoku. You should know what the dispatch of a Marine Admiral means to the outside world, right? Since the establishment of the Marine government. A person who can serve as Marine Admiral. Take a look at Marine's history. Every Marine Admiral, the only criterion to be able to become Marine Admiral. Regardless of experience, conduct, or the past. No doubt. It is incomparably powerful, with an overwhelmingly powerful combat power. Without any exaggeration. A Marine Admiral for every age. It is equivalent to representing that Marine has selected an existence that can be called the monster among monsters, from among countless strong men. Therefore, with the announcement tomorrow, Sakazuki's dispatch. Crane has been able to foresee what kind of attack will be set off on the Grand Line. Although she doesn't know why 5 elders named Sakazuki to deal with the boy. But Admiral was sent out to carry out the task of destroying the pirates who had not set foot in New World. Take a look at Marine's history. So far, but almost never. Or rather, could it be in the eyes of 5 elders? What happened in Ohara back then made the world government think it was like a thorn that had to be removed. Furthermore, Crane's face was serious. Is it because of the boy whose identity the world government refused to disclose? To some extent, the world government thinks that the threat level is enough to surpass those top pirate monsters entrenched in New World. So, can 5 elders give up Admiral's deterrence to the outside world and take the initiative to kill that boy? Both guesses. Either of the above. He was secretly startled. At this time, Sengoku said, Crane Vice Admiral, don't make random guesses. As for that boy. Sengoku looked out the window at Marineford's marine port and said with a look of shock on Crane's face. It's top secret. You just need to know that this matter was personally ordered by 5 elders. Top secret. Crane was startled. And this order was actually given by 5 elders himself. No wonder Bai Ye was shocked. Because the last time Sengoku was able to tell the top secret incident by himself. It was after the execution of the One Piece King Roger. Marine's campaign to kill the world's worst bloodline. Now, Marine Port. Sakazuki Vice Admiral. No, I'm going to change my title tomorrow. Hey, it's so scary that Marshal Sengoku actually sends you on a mission at a time like this. A 3-meter-tall figure wearing sunglasses and a white striped suit jumped off the returning warship. Looking at a warship about to depart in the port, he joked. Snort. The man in the red suit who was stepping on the deck of the warship snorted coldly and said. Porosalino, put away your attitude, Marine is no joke. Tisk, that's scary, Sakazuki. Facing Sakazuki's stern gaze, Pelusalino didn't take it seriously. Got it, Sakazuki is big, no, it should be Akainu Admiral. The voice fell. What? Akainu Admiral. The Marines who were handling the cargo in the entire marine port were taken aback for a moment. Then they all looked at Akainu with shocked and unbelievable eyes, and someone lost their voice. As Sakazuki Vice Admiral going to be promoted to Admiral? Oh my god, this is definitely the most explosive news for Marine this year, right? Marshal Sengoku's originally vacant Admiral position was actually promoted by Sakazuki Vice Admiral. Gouda. Sure enough, I knew that with Sakazuki Vice Admiral's strength, he would definitely be able to take on Admiral. Very good. The Marine on the port is amazing. Sakazuki's face suddenly sank, and he looked at Pelusalino firmly. You bastard. Pelusalino spread his hands and said innocently. Akainu Admiral, don't look at me like that, the news will be announced to the world anyway tomorrow, it doesn't matter whether you let them know in advance, right? Akainu's eyes flickered coldly, and said, is it because this Admiral nomination has nothing to do with you, Pelusalino? I don't think so, you said it yourself, after all. Hey, Admiral's name is much scarier than Vice Admiral. Quote. Pelusalino waved his hand, and then his figure turned into a flash and disappeared in place under Akainu's gaze, leaving behind a mocking voice. Then I wish Akainu Admiral the best of luck. After all, Marine Admiral was dispatched to wipe out the pirates in the first half of the Grand Line. It's a feat to say so, right? Akainu stared at the direction where Kizaru disappeared, and secretly clenched his fists. Damn smooth guy. Subsequently, Akainu felt the Marine who collectively looked at him in the shock of the naval headquarters port. Akainu snorted coldly, stepped up to the deck, and ordered. Let's go. Go to the capital of 7 waters. The other side. The capital of 7 waters. The underground Dark World branch auction house. It is located at the back of the commercial street of the capital of 7 waters. I'm afraid it's the residents who usually live in the capital of 7 waters. Unexpectedly, the branch of the underground Dark World is hidden behind the busiest commercial street. And this also verifies the saying that the place that often seems the most impossible is actually the safer. Bai Ye came to a shop where few people stayed. No identification is required. Just say the password Stussy gave to enter the underground Dark World branch. As for entering the auction house, you need to pay part of the commission and the corresponding identity. The person in charge here didn't dare to let Bai Ye show it at all. After all, Bai Ye came to the capital of 7 waters with great fanfare. Anyone with a bit of information channels and brains. They will never dare to hinder a person who has a reward of 1,080,000,000 Baileys and a reward of 180 million on his head. So Bai Ye came to the auction house of the underground Dark World branch very smoothly. It's here. The scale of the auction house is similar to that of the Sabayati Bottom Islands. In the center of the stage below stands a hot girl. Surrounded by rows of seats, sit people from all over the world to participate in the auction. There are also several boxes, which are full of people. Obviously, compared to Bai Ye who is not in a hurry. More people choose to enter the auction a few hours in advance, or a day in advance. The purpose, of course, is to win the auction item that he is eyeing before others. And maybe it was because the light in the auction room was not bright. The arrival of Bai Ye and Robin did not attract too many prying eyes. So Bai Ye took Robin to find a place with no one at the back and sat down. Waiting quietly for the start of this auction. 030. In Bai Ye's eyes, a boring and bluffing auction. The process of the auction house is basically the same as that of the Sabayati Islands. The start time was about 5 minutes later than originally scheduled. The purpose, of course, is to wait for some people who are not in any hurry with Bai Ye. After all, there is only one essence of the auction house. That is how to use means to obtain higher returns. Whether it is a seller or a buyer, everyone is happy to see this scene. The more forces involved, the greater the benefits they will eventually obtain. And the longer the delay, the more it will arouse the anticipation of those forces scrambling to be the first. Bai Ye looked at this scene calmly. The bottom of my heart secretly thought that the underground dark world was true because I understood the marketing set. Hey, why haven't you started yet? In order to wait for this auction, Lousy prepared a week in advance to prepare funds. This should have started already. That's right, start now. Time flows minute by minute. Gradually noisy voices began to appear in the auction house. Everyone looked impatiently at the auction stage below. Feeling the surrounding atmosphere, the pressure on the hot girl on the stage doubled. As an ordinary person, she knew very well that many of the forces present were big customers that could not be easily offended. Feel the atmosphere almost. Just 1 second before the start of the auction was called out. Sorry, my king is late. The door of the auction house was pushed open. This is a muscular burly man with short blonde hair, multiple crosses on the crown, and boxing gloves, who walked in. Most people in the auction house, who were already impatient, were about to get angry. Seeing the person coming clearly, he couldn't help but change his face slightly, and said, "This guy, is it? Elisabello too. He also came to participate in this auction. It is rumored that this guy is known as a naturally destructive weapon. He can instantly penetrate the enemy's fortress with a single blow. Even if he is as powerful as the Emperor of the Sea, he will be killed on the spot." Hiss. Is it true? As someone told the rumors about Elisabello too. Some people present could not help but gasp. However, some people didn't believe it at all, and there was a look of disdain in their eyes. After all, the pirates who can be hailed as the Emperor of the Sea are all monsters among monsters without exception. If anyone has seen the power of the Emperor of the Sea with his own eyes, he would never believe that rumor that could almost be described as outrageous. But generally speaking, the presence of Elisabello II left an impression on many people who participated in this auction. Facing the surrounding voices, King Elisabello II didn't care. He chose to go straight to the pre-booked box. For what he wants to buy this time, he is already bound to get it. For this reason, he charged up his energy 1 hour in advance. The purpose is to prevent all possible changes. But just when Elisabello II ignored everyone and walked towards the box, suddenly, Elisabello II passed by the moment in the back row. Elisabello I's face changed suddenly, subconsciously preparing to swing the king's fist. But from the back, it is clear that there is only a boy and a girl sitting there. Elisabello II frowned slightly. Is it my illusion? Shaking his head, Elisabello II slowly relaxed his tense body and continued to step into the box. After all, the moment I just passed by there, Elisabello II vaguely felt a terrifying aura that could no longer be described in words. Almost subconsciously want to shoot. But considering the forces on the Grand Line today, it is more likely to be an illusion. After all, no one wants to admit that all the forces involved in the auction field of the underground dark world branch add up. It is far from the threat posed by a young man. As for whether that figure from the back is the boy who offered a reward of 1,080,000,000 Baileys when he landed yesterday, causing the entire capital of Seven Waters to shake. Elisabello II didn't think that way. Because in his opinion, the reward released by Marine is too much. After all, even those pirates known as supernovas, the highest reward offered by Marine is only around 100 to 200 million Baileys. What's more, even if it is really 1,080,000,000 Pele, Elizabeth II is also very confident. Facing his king's fist, can kill with one hit. So what he needs in this auction is bound to be obtained. Elisabello II had this in mind. Little did he know that Bai Ye was thoughtful. Can you feel my breath? It seems that even if the rumors are exaggerated, the level of dealing with a Marine Vice Admiral should not be bad. Bai Ye murmured. And at this time, with the arrival of Elisabello II who caused a commotion, the auction site under Bai Ye's feet, which belongs to the underground dark world branch, has also officially started. But the first 20 minutes or so, there were not many things that caused the forces present to scramble to bid first, but not many things could attract Bai Ye's attention. Like a permanent pointer that the new world only needs. Then there is the special shellfish from Sky Island. Although Bai Ye was amazed at where the underground dark world scraped these things out. But these things don't have much value in Bai Ye's eyes. Permanent pointers are optional. As for the special shellfish from Sky Island, this thing, it might be unusual in the first half of the Grand Line. But these things are not rare on Sky Island at all, and there are even so many that everyone has one. One can imagine. It's strange that it can arouse Bai Ye's interest. Bai Ye's purpose here, there is only one, and that is Baoshu Adam. As for the dispensable things in front, the reason why Bai Ye did not bid is also very simple. From the very beginning, Bai Ye had no intention of obtaining it through normal means. Time goes by. The atmosphere in the auction hall is set off by the hot girls. The atmosphere in the entire auction house gradually became anxious. There are forces that are even close to fighting for the price of the same auction item. There are also pirates who have erupted in disputes and compared rewards. But overall, no one dared to do anything due to the reputation of the underground dark world. In this regard, Bai Ye commented. It was a boring and bluffing auction. Boring is that most things do not interest Bai Ye. As for the bravado, on the other hand, some of the forces entering the auction house are fully planning to take the opportunity to improve their reputation. Throwing money is also a means of fame. But often this kind of power is the type that is easiest to destroy. After all, he really wanted to show his power. It is completely possible to kill pirates, or kill a few marines. Even this most direct means of increasing fame was put aside. What is it if it is not bluffing? But fortunately, this auction is going fast. And along with the three things that are the finale of the auction, it appears. Bai Ye finally became interested. The first finale auction item. Naturally, it is the material of the treasure tree atom Bai Ye fancy. The second item is a famous knife. As for the third item, it turned out to be a devil fruit temporarily added to the list. And it is different from the devil fruit that Bai Ye once obtained from slave traders within the scope of Nine Snake Island. The devil fruit that appeared on the auction site clearly marked the devil fruit's ability. And there is also a devil fruit illustrated book. 031. News from Celestial Dragons. At this time, inside the auction house, with the exposure of three auction items that appeared as the finale, the atmosphere in the entire auction hall was also heightened to a climax. Treasure tree atom. Naturally, there is no need to say more about the use. In this age of great voyages, whether it is pirates, marine, or various kingdoms, as long as you go to sea, you must need a boat. And the treasure tree atom. It is one of the few trees with the strongest tenacity in the world. It was rumored that even if a war broke out, the entire island would be completely wiped out with the city and its people under the baptism of the war, but no matter what happened, the treasure tree atom would stand there safe and sound. Therefore, the precious tree atom is also known as the strongest tree on the sea. It is recognized as the top shipbuilding material. The second finale item is a famous knife named Shimizu. At present, the strongest sword recognized in the world is the Supreme Kuei Dao 12 Crafts. The next arrangement is 21 jobs for big fast knives and 50 jobs for good fast knives. One of the 12 craftsmen, Black Sword Knight, is owned by Hawkeye, who is recognized as the strongest swordsman in the world. Although the famous knife that appeared is basically impossible to be one of the supreme fast knives. But it can reach the level of being called a famous knife. It is enough to show that this knife can be ranked as one of the only 83 strongest knives in the world. Place it in the first half of the Grand Line. The appearance of this knife is enough to cause competition among pirates, bounty hunters, and various forces who have not yet set foot in New World. Final items. Of course, there is no need to say much. A devil fruit that has been marked with abilities. Even if the person who bought it does not eat it himself, he will give it to his subordinates. It can also greatly increase the combat power of the forces under his command. Enough to arouse the interest of everyone in the auction house. And the accompanying devil fruit illustrated book. Although not rare, many senior executives of Marine and even Vice Admiral have seen the content. But the illustrated book that can really spread to the outside world. The quantity can be said to be scales and phoenix horns. In a sense, the rarity of the devil fruit illustrated book is not much worse than that of devil fruit. Therefore, with the appearance of these three finale auction items, the forces present could no longer hold back, and began to compete for prices one after another. No one should compete with Lousy. Lousy offered 70 million Baileys to buy that famous knife. 70 million Baileys. HMPH. I offer 90 million Baileys. On the seat, a bounty hunter got up and looked at the pirates without any hesitation. Some people are also eyeing Baoshu Atom and Devil Fruit. 200 million Baileys. The treasure tree atom belongs to our horned pirates. 130 million. That devil fruit belongs to RK Lola Kingdom. 200 million. Shut up, Lousy. It's all from Lousy. All kinds of scrambling bids continued. And at the rearmost position of the auction house, Bai Ye witnessed all this, as if he was a spectator leisurely. Because Bai Ye is very clear. This is just the beginning. This auction is destined to be different. And Bai Ye didn't even have the idea of bidding. Because it makes no sense at all. The bid is high, do you want to pretend? In fact, there is no need at all. But Bai Ye was a little surprised. It is the ability of that devil fruit. For Paramesha Monmon fruit. Bai Ye, if I remember correctly, this devil fruit will belong to the devil fruit of CP9 Agent Brono in the future. And this ability of devil fruit can also be regarded as a very bug. People who eat the fruit of the door can open the door anywhere and come in and out freely. The place where the door is opened includes in the air, on the flame, on the human body and so on. Doors can be created no matter how solid or non-physical the place is. And it can create doors of different types, sizes, and shapes according to the user's wishes. For example, sliding doors, pushing doors, or even revolving doors, the ability user can also become a door. However, the essence of this fruit's ability lies in its ability to move freely in space. As long as a door is opened in the atmosphere, a green alien space can be created. People other than capable people can also enter this different space to move in space. The space itself can also be used as a place for emergency evacuation. Moreover, after the created door is closed, the part that was originally opened will return to its original state without leaving any traces. If you can't beat it during the battle, you can open the door to another space to avoid the enemy's attack. Ability can be regarded as a very bug in Paramesha. It's just a pity. Such abilities are wasted on mediocre eaters in the future. As a traverser, Bai Ye is aware of the concept of Devil Fruit Awakening. If the fruit of the door does not have the ability before awakening, it is already counted as a bug. What if after awakening? Any door? This was Bai Ye's first thought. No matter where in the world you want to go, you only need to open a door. Or, think deeper. Can the different space created by the door fruit expand its scope and become a second world? These thoughts flashed through Bai Ye's mind. It seems now. Bai Ye's trip to this auction was worthwhile. This devil fruit. Now that he has encountered it, Bai Ye will never let it go. And this time, when many forces in the auction house shouted their prices to a fever pitch. There were voices from several boxes. 500 million Baileys. The source of the voice was Elizabello II, who caused the riot. I saw the strong body of Elizabello II standing up, staring at the treasure tree Adam as the finale. His voice overshadowed the humanity of the previous bid. I also ask you to give this king a face, and also give the Protence Kingdom a face. 500 million Pele. It's Elizabello II. Did that guy join the competition? Damn, what does it mean to give face? Isn't this a pure threat? That's right, Elizabello II, don't get too carried away. This is not your kingdom of Protence. Don't really think that you can run rampant on the Grand Line with a rumor that you don't know the truth of. 600 million Baileys. The brief commotion ended and some people shouted prices. Seeing this, Elizabello II's expression sank. But at this moment, the rest of the boxes also opened their mouths. Surprised the entire auction house. There is no other reason. If it is said that Elizabello II relied on his own strength and the kingdom behind him as a threat. So the person who spoke this time is completely unreasonable. However, the use of reasons made most people retreat. Because the opponent is a nobleman from the kingdom of East Blue Goa. This identity is not strange, nor is it enough to make people jealous. Even far less than the weight of Elizabello II. But the reason for the other party's bid. But they are planning to give these auction items in the name of tribute to the nobles of the world who are about to go to East Blue to play. Also celestial dragons. Celestial dragons. The appearance of these three words. Enough to make the entire auction house fall into dead silence. In this age of great voyages. If you want to talk about the forces that you can't provoke the most. Maybe someone will think of Marine. Or the top pirate group known as the Emperor of the Sea entrenched in New World. Then there is the underground Dark World. But compared to these three. Let the whole world recognize it as the most unprovoked existence. Absolute. It is also the undisputed number one. Celestial dragons, the world nobles who rule the world government and live in the holy land of Mariejois. Because the first three provoked. Maybe there is still a chance to escape, to live incognito. But celestial dragons, anyone, any force, regardless of status. Dare to provoke the celestial dragons. Even if the opponent just scratches the surface, Marine will immediately dispatch the Marine Admiral, who is known as the highest combat power. And no matter where they escaped, it was a cleaning that left no room for explanation. One can imagine what a terrifying privilege lies behind the word celestial dragons. As the entire auction house fell into dead silence because of the name of celestial dragons. When many people showed fear, they voluntarily withdrew from the auction. But no one noticed. Sit at the back of the auction house. There was a hint of indifference and coldness in Bai Ye's eyes. Celestial dragons. I didn't expect to come to the capital of Seven Waters. And hear about the rubbish. Looking at this trip, he did come to the right place with Robin. There are not only extra gains, but also a gift from the world government. 032. Celestial Dragons Attendant, Bai Ye, who directly handles. Advertise here. And at this time, in the huge auction house, a noble middle-aged man from the kingdom of Goa stood in the box. Looking around the entire auction house that fell into dead silence after reporting the name of celestial dragons. Even Elizabello II, who claims to be born destructive, did not ask for a price. The eyes of the middle-aged nobleman in the Goya kingdom wearing a dark blue dress couldn't help showing a hint of pride. Really, he did not hesitate to spend a tenth of the financial resources of the kingdom of Goa. Buying these items to honor the celestial dragons was the right choice. And this is just the result of reporting the name of celestial dragons, which shocked the various forces on these grand lines. One can imagine, if he had paid these tributes, the celestial dragons would have been pleased to allow him to be a nobleman of the world. An uncontrollable frenzied excitement was born in the eyes of the middle-aged man. In any case, the following items are dedicated to celestial dragons, he must get them. Seeing that no one spoke, the middle-aged man stood in the box, stroking his mustache, and said to the hot girl on the auction stage below. What are you still waiting for? 1 billion Baileys. The auction house for the 3 finale pieces was all accepted by our kingdom of Goa. Or. There was an undisguised threat in the middle-aged man's tone. Do you think they are qualified to meddle in the tributes to be offered to the nobles of the world? After finishing speaking, although there were many eyes who dared to be angry but dare not speak. Quote. Damn it, it's just a waste that borrowed the name of the world's nobles. Damn it. There were some whispering voices, but the man didn't care. Because in this sea, so far, no one has heard of any person or force who dares to offend the nobles of the world. Unless, they are impatient to live. Below, the hot girl saw that no one dared to raise the price in the entire huge auction field, and her face changed slightly. According to the budget of this underground dark world, these 3 finale items can be auctioned for at least 1.5 billion Baileys. Unexpectedly, because of the name of celestial dragons, almost no one dared to bid in the auction house. This is a full 1/3 difference from their advance amount. However, due to the reputation of the world's nobles and the reputation of the underground dark world. See no bids. The hot girl gestured from the backstage person in charge. I had to prepare to make a final decision, announcing that the 3 finale items on this auction house were won by the Kingdom of East Blue Goa. But just when the hot girl was about to make a final decision, sudden, an indifferent voice sounded without warning. Celestial dragons. Do you want to be that trash too? Wow. The voice of the speaker was not too loud, but it was enough to reach the ears of anyone present in this deadly auction. Same. Everyone who heard this voice changed their faces drastically, revealing a look of shock. Who? That was just now. Hey, did I hear you right? How dare you call the world's noble celestial dragons garbage? My god, there are really guys who are not afraid of death in this auction house, right? What is this? The hearts of many forces in the auction house were shocked, and they subconsciously searched for the source of the sound. Even Eli Sabello too, who was bound to get the material of the precious tree atom in the box, showed shock on his face. Celestial dragons. On this occasion in front of many Grand Line forces. Call it garbage. This can no longer be described as arrogant. It is simply not paying attention to the world noble celestial dragons. It's simply daring to the extreme. And this time, the face of a figure beside the middle-aged nobleman from the kingdom of Goa sank. But the nobleman jumped out first, shouted loudly, and introduced a man dressed as a housekeeper to everyone. Who? How dare you openly insult the nobles of the world? Are you impatient? Or, do you not know the serious consequences of insulting the nobles of the world? Do you know? This is an attendant who serves the incomparably noble Charos Saint Lord. Every word and action you say will be recorded. So, not only the guy who dares to insult the nobles of the world, but also the hometown behind you, relatives, and all those who value you. They will all provoke destruction. The middle-aged man from the aristocratic kingdom of Goya jumped into a rage and kept scanning the many people in the auction house, his tone making no secret of the threat. But after his words fell, the faces of many forces in the auction house changed again. Celestial dragons, Squire. Everyone couldn't believe it. He looked at another figure in the box in horror. Originally they thought each other was just using the name of celestial dragons. Did not expect. There were actually celestial dragons attendants participating in this auction. Thus, things are in trouble. Various thoughts emerged. Sudden, the indifferent voice from before sounded out again. Yeah, issued like a question. This time, many forces in the entire auction house suddenly found the source of the voice. When he saw clearly that it was the corner of the only back seat in the auction house, there was a boy with red eyes and black hair. Everyone couldn't help but tremble. It's that guy. This matter has nothing to do with us. Good. Some forces that didn't want to get involved at all quickly opened their mouths to clear the relationship. Some of them saw clearly the appearance of that daring boy, and their pupils suddenly shrank sharply. The black cloak, the deep red pupils that people dare not look directly at, the stunning appearance that can impress anyone at a glance, and just sitting there, the whole body exudes a palpitating aura. That guy is a bounty of 1,080,000,000 monsters. World calamity, the rumored nation destroyer, the one who brings blood and death, Gouda. Are you kidding? When did such a guy come to this auction? Someone also noticed Robin beside Bai Ye. His face changed again, and he said in shock. Hey, the one next to him should be the son of the devil, who was offered a reward of 180 million berries by Marine, right? A combination of world calamity and son of the devil. It looks like there is a good show to watch. There are also forces of gloating. A monster with a bounty of 1,080,000,000 is very powerful, but it must be divided among those who offend it. The nobles of the world, celestial dragons, those existences are troubles that even New World, known as the Emperor of the Sea, would not want to cause easily. As Bai Ye's identity is gradually exposed, all of a sudden, various thoughts appeared in the minds of various forces. At the bottom of my heart, I was thinking about what Bai Ye would do next. However, What happened next moment? It made all the forces present and participating in this auction feel deep fear in their hearts. I saw a middle-aged noble man from Goa Kingdom was about to enumerate the fate of offending celestial dragons. This came without warning. Bai Ye raised a finger. His eyes looked at the box indifferently. A squire of the celestial dragons. So, celestial dragons shouldn't be too far from the capital of Seven Waters, right? That being the case, charge some interest first. Bai Ye's eyes were too cold. Someone noticed Bai Ye's movements. The heart beat violently uncontrollably, a cold sweat emerged from his forehead, and his mouth opened wide. No, won't you? That guy knows that there are celestial dragons attendants in there. Could it be? Frightening thoughts came to some people's hearts. Next second, in the hands-free auction house, a ray of blue light is coming in an instant. Next moment, boom, the box where the nobles of the Goya kingdom lived suddenly exploded in full view of everyone. Small holy destroying arrow, and do it all at Bai Ye. After a long time, many forces in the once again dead silent auction house have not reacted yet. When looking in the direction of the light just now, I found that Bai Ye who was sitting there stretched out a finger, and looked at the box that was completely engulfed by the explosion. Google. People from all the forces present came to their senses, their hearts suddenly began to beat violently, and a smear of cold sweat emerged from their foreheads and slipped down. He, how dare he? God, it's over, it's over. This lunatic, he actually did it directly. Shit. Dragon Boat Festival reading big discount. R033. Some people are alive but dead. For a while, the auction hall organized by the entire underground dark world was in chaos in an instant. Because anyone with a brain, watching the box above being engulfed by the dust and smoke from the explosion. All the forces present are very clear about one thing. Things are going up, although there are no celestial dragons in that box. But the squires of the celestial dragons. Not everyone can be offended. Not to mention killing it directly. Almost they've been predictable. Wait for the world nobles celestial dragons to learn what happened here. I am afraid that everyone present will be held accountable. Therefore, quick, go, get out of this place of right and wrong. That guy is a complete lunatic. He chose to kill him directly. God, Lousy wanted to take that guy's head yesterday. This matter has nothing to do with Lousy, please don't involve Lousy. Huge chaos appeared in the auction house. Some people began to rush out like a tide. There were also powerful people who saw this chaotic scene. He planned to fish in troubled waters and go directly to snatch the auction items on the stage. The hot girl recovered from the shock. But it was powerless to stop all this. Because of this auction, it is completely messed up now. How dare someone kill Celestial Dragon's squire directly? And it was in front of many forces in the auction organized by the underground dark world. The severity of the matter here has directly risen to a level that cannot be handled by the underground dark world branch. However, just when some forces took advantage of the chaos to seize the auction items and leave. Witnessing all this chaos, Bai Ye snapped his fingers. Just in time for Robin to test his acclimatization to the power of the Quincy these days. Kill them all. Bai Ye looked at the forces who were going to take advantage of the chaos to snatch it, and looked at Robin. Robin nodded. She stood up. Next second. This is the power of the azure blue Quincy gathering in Robin's hands. A bow and arrow without a string appeared in the girl's hand. Robin looked at the forces that took advantage of the chaos to snatch the auction items. There was no hesitation in Robin's eyes. The moment your fingers rest on the bow and arrow. This is an arrow with the concentrated spiritual power of the Quincyr that appeared with Robin's fingertips pulling the bow. Next second. This is when the chaotic auction floor is turned pale. An arrow condensed with the power of the Quincy suddenly shot out from Robin's fingertips. What is that? The person who discovered this scene just had an idea. I saw a blue light arrow with a speed as fast as ultimate, which suddenly disappeared in a flash. Followed by, on the auction platform below. Ha ha ha. Got it. Got it. This knife belongs to our fire demon pirates. A tall, bearded pirate man in sackcloth laughed loudly, with fanaticism in his eyes. I am glad that this chaos came so well. If it is auctioned according to the normal process. Even if they sell all their pirate groups, they can't compete with other forces. After all, how could the financial resources of the pirate group be comparable to those blood-sucking nobles? But at the moment when the bearded pirate turned around and was about to sneak out. First, there was a muffled sound of flesh being pierced through. Then came the piercing sound that resounded through the auction house and attracted all the forces. Visible to the naked eye. The movements of the bearded pirate man froze on the spot. There was a look of disbelief in his eyes, and he lowered his head and looked slowly at his chest. At the position of the heart, there was a terrifying wound the size of a fist. And through the light through the fist-sized wound, the forces attracted by the sound are clearly visible to everyone. It was a blue arrow that pierced through the body of the strong pirate and continued to sink tens of meters into the ground. It shows how terrifying the power contained in this blowed ultimate. How is it possible? Lousy managed to grab it. The unbelievable face of the bearded pirate gradually turned into unwillingness, but he could only turn into a corpse and fell to the ground. And this scene, it made people subconsciously look in the direction that the arrow flew from. When it was clear that it was actually the girl next to Bai Ye who moved her hand. People from countless forces present could not help but gasp. Is it the son of the devil who moved? When was that? Is that guy also a lunatic? Not only did the captain kill the celestial dragon's attendant, but does that girl want to kill us too? Someone's face changed drastically and he made a sound. But a small number of people had a look of incomparable dignity on their faces, staring at Robin. For example, the box where Elisabello II was located. Your Majesty, have you noticed? With a curly mustache, one of Elisabello II's attendants said with a serious face. Elisabello II nodded, and said slowly and solemnly. It was the arrow that penetrated the pirate's body first, and then the sound came out. As the few knowledgeable people present, Elisabello II, who was born in the Kingdom of New World, naturally knew what this meant. Come on, ultimate attack, even enough to surpass the speed of sound transmission. In other words, this means that this is an attack that cannot be dodged with reaction at all. And such an enemy, it is often the scariest thing at sea. And especially built at a certain distance. This is why many pirate groups are equipped with snipers. Elisabello II stared solemnly at Robin next to Bai Ye below. Originally, he thought that the King's Fist, which had been charged for 1 hour, could prevent any accidents from happening. Even Bai Ye, who offered a reward of 1,080,000,000 Baileys, could be killed by one punch. But now it seems, perhaps the most terrifying enemy is the girl next to Bai Ye whom Marine calls the son of the devil. After all, no matter how powerful the King's Fist is, as long as you can't touch the enemy, it's useless at all. And Robin happens to be his biggest nemesis. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Do we want to give up? The current chaos is a good opportunity. The attendant looked ugly and looked at Elisabello II. No rush, wait a little longer. Elisabello II looked down and said. Some people are more anxious than us. Elisabello II finished speaking. Not long after the sound fell, the entire chaotic auction hall was dead silent for a moment. But soon, those forces who tried to fish in troubled waters shouted. What are you afraid of? Even if that guy wants to kill all of us, you have to look at your weight. There are so many of us, no matter how fast the attack is, it's too late to deal with it. That's right, it's just a combination of two people. As long as we join forces, kill them, and dedicate their heads to the celestial dragons, maybe we can get a reward. Ha ha ha, that's right, kill. Anyway, it will be implicated afterwards. Since that's the case, why don't we deal with these reckless guys and dare to provoke celestial dragons? You say a word, I say a word. Accompanied by the forces that want to fish in troubled waters. For a while, the chaos in the entire auction house turned their guns on Bai Ye and Robin. Some people had seen the death of the bearded pirate man, and knew that they would probably repeat the same mistakes when they went to get the auction items, so they took the opportunity to make the chaos even bigger. Some people know that this matter is completely out of control, so they might as well kill Bai Ye and Robin directly, so that they can get their heads and go to celestial dragons to make amends and claim credit. After all, if you are lucky and can get in touch with the world's noble celestial dragons, the value contained in it will definitely not lose to the discovery of the great treasure. After all, a mere nobleman from a small kingdom in East Blue is so arrogant just because of the name of celestial dragons. If they can really get into the eyes of the celestial dragons. For a moment, huge greed appeared in his eyes. Same. Others do it purely for fame. After all, no matter what, Bai Ye and Robin are just two people, even though the rewards are extremely high. The total number of forces present could be in the hundreds. With such a huge gap in numbers, and no matter how fast Robin attacked, could it be possible to shoot him at the same time? So, the advantage is in me. So, under the interweaving of various thoughts and purposes, Bai Ye and Robin became hostile parties to the entire auction house forces for a while. However, witnessing this scene in front of him, there was no wave in Bai Ye's eyes. Or, since you don't want to live, let's kill them all. Bai Ye said plainly to Robin. The voice fell. The many forces in the entire auction house were stunned for a moment, and then someone saw that Bai Ye did not make any moves, obviously intending to hand it over to Robin alone, and couldn't help laughing. Kill them all. Just rely on the son of the devil beside you. Can she kill her? You know, we have hundreds of people. There are dozens of people who offer a reward of tens of millions of Baileys. Don't be too arrogant. We are not trash. A pirate roared loudly, raising his weapon and rushing forward. The rest of the people saw this and started their hands one after another. Bai Ye's eyes were still calm, watching all this. It's like looking at dead. That's right, these are those who do things or have evil intentions. Some people are alive, but in Bai Ye's eyes, they are no different from dead people. Because, next second, face the many enemies rushing in the auction house. Robin took his time. I saw that as Robin activated the flower fruit ability, pink flying petals appeared. This is a pair of white arms growing out of the faces of the powerful people rushing to the auction site. Exclusive to flower fruit, it allows any part of the body to bloom like a flower on any tangible thing within sight for attack or other use. But at this moment, it wasn't those arms that made the entire auction house gradually seep cold sweat on their foreheads. Instead, azure blue light appeared on every pair of arms that bloomed. Followed by, this is Robin using the flower fruit to bloom on each pair of arms that belong to the Quincy bow. 034. Robin's crushing battle. Bai Ye. These, no, everything belongs to me, do you have any objections? Advertise here. This sudden scene, it made the powerful people in the auction house who were doing their work discouraged one after another. Visible to the naked eye, cold sweat oozed from his forehead. Open your mouth wide. A trace of fear for Robin gradually appeared in his eyes. After witnessing an attack that was terrifying enough to surpass the sound of the ultimate attack. No one present can dodge with confidence. They dared to deal with Bai Ye and Robin, planning to rely on numbers from the beginning. I believe that no matter how fast Robin's attack is, but with only one bow in his hand, it is impossible to shoot him all at the same time with the released attack. However, the scene that now appears in front of you completely overturned the cognition of all forces in the entire auction house. Facing the unstoppable number of scalp tingling. No doubt. The situation was reversed again in an instant. Now. Bai Ye looked at this scene like a lone emperor in black, applauding from the bottom of his heart that it is more spectacular to use it in front of many people. This move is exactly what Robin created in the past few days to adapt to the power of the Quincy and combine his own devil fruit ability. Quincy can build weapons with spiritual power. This is the basic ability of the destroyer. But Robin is a flower fruit capable person. Combine the two. When this trick was developed, give Bai Ye the feeling. It's just that Robin alone can be compared to an entire Quincy army. Certainly, Bai Ye is also very clear. Even if an ordinary Quincy with this ability is given flower fruit, the probability of achieving it is basically zero. Not to mention whether it can finally control the super control required by each arm. In this regard, Bai Ye thought that Robin's innate grasp of fineness was terrifying before he traveled. In the original future, those flying wing moves developed using flower fruit, as well as powerful moves that overlap arms. It seems very magical, but think about it. When Robin attacks the enemy, each arm needs to make different movements to deal with the different body sizes of the enemy. It can be seen that those arms need to be separated from each other for mind control. Usually those 1 pair, 2 pair, 4 pair, and 5 pair moves are fine. Ordinary people can control distraction at the same time with a little training. But what if this number is doubled? Can ordinary people really do it? Not to mention that Robin's later development of the 100 blossoms and myriad purples and reds moves need to control the number of thousands, or even tens of thousands. This kind of fine control is far beyond what ordinary people can do. Certainly, the most important other point is, Bai Ye looked at the Quincy bow that appeared in the arms of every pair of fair-skinned girls in the auction house. Just the spiritual power needed to build a weapon. I'm afraid it can drain ordinary Quincy in an instant. So, such a move. It can only be used as a direct Quincy master created by Bai Ye, the ancestor of Quincy masters, who has the Yohbach template. It is possible to do all this. Watch the spectacle of drawing bows at the same time. One man becomes an army. This concept undoubtedly came to Bai Ye's mind. With Robin's devil fruit ability, coupled with the power of the Quincy. And, Bai Ye endowed it with the ability of holy writing. Having Bai Ye with Robin is equivalent to getting an army of Quincy divisions in a sense. Although Robin is currently limited by physical strength and age. Using the power of the Quincy and the devil fruit ability at the same time can only bloom 30 pairs of arms. But Bai Ye is very sure. This is far from Robin's ceiling. And at this time, facing the scene where the entire auction house swallowed their saliva, no one dared to step forward rashly. Robin had no intention of showing mercy. She heard it very clearly from Bai Ye just now. The order of, Your Majesty, is to kill them all. There were no waves in her blue pupils. If it was her, maybe she would choose to escape and hide in the dark underground world. But I want to meet Bai Ye later. Robin, who can now walk under the sun, has made up his mind silently. Compared to the past where I could only hide in the dark, I could only see the dark future. No, she will never hide in the dark again. Even if Bai Ye intends to make an enemy of the world, Robin will not hesitate. Subsequently, this is under Robin's fine control. This is a series of sharp blue arrows that began to converge on the Quincier's bow where there were no arrows. As for the many forces in the auction house, from the beginning. In Robin's view, either alone or all together. In Robin's eyes, there is not much difference. Because from the moment when the forces participating in this auction tried to join forces to deal with Bai Ye and her, Robin has already regarded these people as dead. Next second. 30 flowers dragon stars. Release the bowstring with your fingertips. An extremely shocking scene caught the eyes of the forces participating in the auction. Those are azure blue arrows, as if the sky is full of stars, and they are as dazzling as shooting stars piercing the sky. But, this beautiful scene, but at the cost of the lives of the people and horses of many forces in the auction house. This will be the last picture they see in this life. The azure blue Quincy arrows began to fall like a meteor rainstorm. Google. Quote. Quick, run. That girl, Root, is a monster at all. Quick, go. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, a terrified voice came out of the mouth that came back to God. The result is the next second. His heart was pierced by a Quincy arrow approaching ultimate, leaving a huge scar in the mouth of a bull. Some people gritted their teeth in an attempt to resist or dodge, while others tried to threaten them temporarily. You guys do this. Aren't you afraid of offending the entire Grand Line and the underground dark world? Roaring and threatening to fall. In the end, what responded to him was that the Quincy, who took Robin's life, pierced through his body with spiritual power. You two demons, how dare you? His face was full of strong dissatisfaction. This strong man of a certain force turned into a corpse and fell down. Bai Ye sat in the back watching this scene, with a look of disdain in his eyes. Offend the Grand Line and the dark underground world. The former Bai Ye may still understand. But if you offend, you will be offended. Anyone who kills Bai Ye will never let anyone go. But the latter, when can an ant that jumped out of nowhere represent the entire dark underground world? It's ridiculous. And at this very moment, accompanied by Robin's merciless shooting and killing of many forces in the auction house before they could resist. This is Robin's first fight since he became the Quincy division. Use its description. It was a downright crushing battle. In the last row of the Bai Ye auction house, can be clearly seen. No force could take a step forward, or even touch Robin's clothes. Those who tried to escape had no choice but to die in the face of the attack that was approaching ultimate. Those who resist will only die faster. It can be said. Their attempt to defeat Bai Ye and Robin by numbers was the clown's delusion from beginning to end. Robin alone is enough to deal with these people, and it can be said that when Robin released his moves, seat positions throughout the auction house, Bai Ye could see it very clearly. Robin perfectly completed Bai Ye's explanation. Kill them all. Don't let anyone go. No one left behind who threatened to kill Bai Ye just now. All the forces that just attacked have become corpses at this moment, dying in this auction. And at this moment, Bai Ye watched this scene. Only then slowly got up, ignoring the bloody hell scene in front of him, and while walking onto the auction stage, he looked up at the remaining boxes above to watch the battle. Those, should be all the things that appeared in this auction belong to me, you guys. There should be no comments, right? Quote. 035. Harvest, there is no need for celestial dragons to come to Bai Ye. Bai Ye will take the initiative to find its existence. Advertise here. Nobody has an opinion. A clear voice echoed in the auction floor below. For a long time, no one dared to answer. Because at this moment, happening reality, enough to make both Bai Ye and Robin considered scourges. Only Robin, who offered a reward of 180 million Baileys, took the shot. Just easily shoot and kill all the forces present below. So, looking at the young figure who seemed to be like a lonely emperor. Bai Ye who can be offered a reward of 1,080 million Pele by the Marine government. How powerful should it be? The faces of the people above the boxes in the auction house were extremely solemn. My lord, the attendants beside Elisabello too looked at the material of the treasure tree atom that they were bound to get this time on the auction stage. Elisabello too looked ugly, said. Go, here, it is basically impossible to get the treasure tree atom. Elisabello too didn't want to get involved himself. So leaving was the best choice right now. At that time, I will plan another plan. But at this time, no one stopped him. Bai Ye easily collected all the things that appeared in the auction house this time. Not a penny for Bailey. Instead, from the bidding forces and dead celestial dragons acolytes below. Bai Ye also netted over 3 billion Baileys. This auction will pay off. Not too big. Do it all. Bai Ye's eyes lingered for a moment in Elisabello II's box. It's a pity that the other party didn't dare to make a move. Bai Ye lost interest. Otherwise, Bai Ye wouldn't mind learning the so-called King's Fist that was rumored to be able to kill the Emperor of the Sea with one blow. Let's go. Bai Ye turned the souls of those who died on the scene into strength and absorbed them, and looked at Robin. Everything needed for this auction has been obtained. Also harvested an additional Paramesha fruit and illustrated book, plus auction items worth hundreds of millions of Baileys and more than 3 billion Baileys in cash. Now that the goal has been achieved, Bai Ye has no intention of staying any longer. Go shipbuilding first. This is the number one thing right now. Then, according to the memories of the dead squire of celestial dragons. Then go to solve another thing. Not long. Iceberg shipyard. These Baileys are used as shipbuilding fees. 3 days should be enough, right? Plenty of Baileys are dispensable in Bai Ye's eyes. Just enough for the shipbuilding fee. Bingberg looked at the piled up Bailey at this time. I couldn't help opening my mouth wide. Where did Bai Ye get so many Baileys? But with these Baileys, his craftsmen will work harder. So Bingshan hesitated for a moment, nodded and said. Yes, if you activate all the artisans, 3 days is enough. Okay, then I'll wait for your good news. Get this satisfactory reply. Bai Ye nodded. When the boat is built, I will come to the capital of 7 waters to pick up the boat. Hearing this, Bingshan couldn't help being taken aback. Come to pick up the boat. Bai Ye is planning to leave the capital of Seven Waters. Actually directly and safely discarded the materials of the legendary treasure tree atom and a large number of Baileys here. There was a look of shock in Bingshan's eyes. But considering the reward offered by Bai Ye in front of him. Although Bingshan doesn't know where Bai Ye got the treasure tree atom and Bailey. If the other party dares to do this, it means that they have absolute self-confidence. Moreover, the shipyard has now pushed back a large number of orders. Bingshan sighed secretly, and now the shipyard probably has no other choice. All the craftsmen can only be mobilized first to meet Bai Ye's request. And this time Bingshan is going to end in person. After all, Baoshu Atom's material, even the largest shipyard, which is a holy place for shipbuilding, is hard to come by. Throughout the history of the capital of Seven Waters. In fact, there are absolutely no more than one-handed boats that use Baoshu Atom as the shipbuilding material. It can be seen the preciousness of the precious tree atom. For shipwrights, it is no exaggeration to say that in their eyes, the treasure tree atom is no less than the desire of a swordsman to meet one of the 12 masters of the supreme sword. Thereafter, although the auction was held in the underground Dark World branch. But the news spread quickly in the capital of Seven Waters, a place where the forces are deeply rooted. Not to mention that Bai Ye's approach undoubtedly completely offended those forces to death. But surprisingly, Bai Ye walked on the streets of the capital of Seven Waters. But I didn't see the small movements before. Obviously. After the auction, the entire capital of Seven Waters is an intertwined force. Vaguely regarded Bai Ye and Robin as objects that must not be provoked. After all, although Bai Ye ordered Robin to kill those powerful people who participated in the auction. But Bai Ye beheaded the servant of celestial dragons with his own hands in full view. That's not celestial dragons though. But being able to get involved with the world's noble celestial dragons. It is definitely not an existence that most forces in the first half of the Grand Line dare to provoke. Not to mention Bai Ye's crazy moves. It turned out to be beheaded directly. Undoubtedly, it completely offended the world noble celestial dragons to death. So now in the eyes of most people in the capital of Seven Waters who want to seek revenge on Bai Ye. Today's Bai Ye is a huge problem. It must not be involved in the slightest. Because even if they didn't make a move, when the celestial dragons got the news that the servant was beheaded. He would never choose to let Bai Ye go. So in a way. Perhaps Bai Ye has already dug his own grave without their intervention. It's not good to offend anyone, and dare to provoke the big trouble of the world's nobles, celestial dragons. Now, they just pray that such troublesome things will never involve any of them. However, when the forces who got the news in the capital of Seven Waters came up with this idea. If they knew that Bai Ye left the iceberg office and went to the port to leave the capital of Seven Waters. I am afraid that absolutely no one can sit still. Because there is no need for celestial dragons to find Bai Ye. Bai Ye will take the initiative to find its existence. 036. Drawbacks of capturing devil fruit ability. Advertise here. Not long. The capital of Seven Waters. Port. Here, as always, there is friction. There is an endless stream of people on the Grand Line who come to the capital of Seven Waters to build ships. But with the arrival of a combination of boy and girl. The entire port gradually became quiet, and finally fell into dead silence. It was only then that someone new to the capital of Seven Waters discovered that there was a seemingly taboo place in this port, which was in short supply for docking ships. Although there, only a small ship was docked. However, in the complex area of the entire port, no one sailed into the berth area. Just like that, let a small ship occupy the area where two large pirate ships can stop. Moreover, none of the vicious thieves in the nearby Haiping had the slightest complaint. What is this? Why doesn't anyone over there dare to dock the pirate ship? It's just a brat and... Hush. Before he could finish his sentence, a person next to him changed his expression and quickly signaled to shut up on the newly arrived tattered pirate ship. But the pirate obviously didn't know how to flatter him, so he gritted his teeth and said. Are you kidding me? Lousy as the butcher punk with a bounty of 30 million Baileys. Even if the challenge to New World fails, lousy is not something anyone can provoke. After speaking, the one-legged, strong man with mohawk hair showed his weapon, showing his status. People nearby who hesitated to speak heard the words. Shut up immediately. It turned out to be a guy with no information at all. Then they looked at the one-legged mohawk-haired pirate man. The people present at the port seemed to be looking at a dead man. After all, in the capital of Seven Waters under our feet, everyone is well informed. They will never have any idea to provoke the combination of the boy and the girl. Unless, the strong man with the one-legged mohawk haircut ordered his subordinates to let the tattered pirate ship directly hit him. As a result, the pirate ship has not waited for the approaching position. This is an azure blue arrow of Quincier's spiritual power piercing the sky like a shooting star. The one-legged mohawk-haired pirate hadn't reacted yet. The whole person was pierced through in the horror of his subordinates, and turned into a corpse and fell down. Pang! Captain Punk! Captain Punk! What the hell is this? The pirates under him were terrified, looking around for who made the move. Soon, when these pirates noticed that the girl on the small ship not far away was holding a bow in her hand, their faces changed drastically. How can it be? Captain Punk was offered a reward of 30 million Baileys, and he was known as the existence of the Butcher. Even if he failed to challenge New World, he paid a foot for it, most of his men. How could he be shot dead on the spot without even the slightest ability to resist? These pirates couldn't believe what they saw, they squatted on the ground, horrified. The people near the port of the capital of Seven Waters secretly said that they must not provoke the combination of the world's disaster and the son of the devil. After all, don't talk about pirates with a reward of 30 million. That pair, even the celestial dragon's attendants dared to kill without saying a word, and dared to kill in full view. But, looking at Bai Ye and Robin, it seems that they are planning to leave. They secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Are those two planning to leave? Sure enough, as long as you are not a fool. Everyone should know the consequences of provoking the world's noble celestial dragons. If you stay in one place all the time, you will be approached by celestial dragons sooner or later. At that time, facing the real celestial dragons will be a big problem. After all, if the celestial dragons are injured, even a layer of skin will be scratched. Naval headquarters will immediately dispatch Marine Admiral level forces to encircle and suppress them. Marine Admiral, a monster like that, is something no one on the Grand Line wants to encounter. Not to mention being the target of that monster. Certainly. As the night gradually approached. If you know Bai Ye's thoughts. I'm afraid there won't be any thought of staying in the capital of Seven Waters like now. And at this moment, Bai Ye noticed the color of the sky, considering that it would take 3 days to build a ship. 1 day is enough. The place where the celestial dragons are located is not far from the capital of Seven Waters. Back and forth time of day. Enough in the eyes. The reason why I am not going tomorrow. This is because the celestial dragons are only at anchor for 1 day. At that time, this opportunity will be missed. Regarding the rubbish that should be swept away, Bai Ye has no intention of letting anyone go. Now that I have encountered it, I can only blame the bad luck of these garbage. After all, Akainu estimates that he will come to the capital of Seven Waters in 2 days at most, and there will be a lot of celestial dragons if there is one less, and there will be no more than one more. A look of indifference flashed in Bai Ye's red pupils. During this voyage phase, Bai Ye took out the Paramesh Amendment fruit. The power that usurped the altar made it starred. If anyone else was here, they would be dumbfounded. Because I saw that under the influence of the power to usurp the altar, a devil fruit in Bai Ye's palm began to rot rapidly. The ability contained in it is taken away by it. Immediately afterwards, this power was gradually stored in a star metal. Successful. Bai Ye looked at the devil fruit that turned into residue in his hand. Holding that small star metal, Bai Ye could clearly feel it. There is a magical power within this star. As long as it is on the body, Bai Ye can activate its abilities at any time. But the precondition for activation is consistent with the use of devil fruit power. That is to absorb the physical strength of the user. Besides that, Bai Ye used his ability to open the door and put one hand into the sea water. Bai Ye didn't have any discomfort of being pulled out by the sea with his physical strength. This means, Bai Ye's previous idea is completely feasible. This is, the power of that devil fruit. Robin was behind him with a look of surprise in his eyes. She didn't see Bai Ye eating devil fruit, but Bai Ye showed devil fruit-like ability. It didn't surprise Robin. That's right, and it's an ability user who doesn't fear the sea at all. Bai Ye nodded without hiding anything from Robin. When Robin heard this, the girl's heart was shaken. Demon fruit power that is not afraid of the sea. As Robin, who was familiar with the weaknesses of devil fruit's abilities, Robin knew very well how terrifying this would be. If you are not afraid of the sea, then, wouldn't the sea stone, the natural enemy in Marine's hands to deal with ability users, lose its effect completely and become just a harder stone at best? It is conceivable that if such a thing is known to the outside world, what kind of horror will be set off? And the scariest thing is, Bai Ye can use devil fruit ability without eating devil fruit. And at this time, Bai Ye frowned slightly after trying out the door fruit ability, and he soon discovered a problem. That is the one downside to the devil fruit ability captured by usurping the altar. Similar to Bankai who captured Shinigami, the seized abilities will be fixed at the development speed of the original owner. In other words, the power seized cannot exceed the level possessed by the original owner. Thus, in the first half of the Grand Line, most of the pirate's fruit abilities lost value to Bai Ye. There is no other reason, the degree of development is too low. Most of the captured abilities are just rubbish abilities. It is far inferior to the power of the Quincy Master himself. But even so, it should be no problem to use some special devil fruits to assist the Quincy itself. As for wanting to capture the powerful devil fruit ability, Bai Ye at this moment, he looked forward to Akainu even more. But before that, he will give Marine a big gift. This moment, after a short flight of several hours, Bai Ye can see clearly. On a kingdom island near the capital of Seven Waters, a luxury ultimate ship is docked with a whole body made of gold. But when the night is over, The nobles of the kingdom on the island are preparing to discuss how to please the celestial dragons and seek greater benefits for themselves. Everyone was horrified to find out. All celestial dragons' servants on board died overnight. As for the celestial dragons, the nobles of the world, they tried everything to please. It disappeared without a trace. P.S. 037. The celestial dragons are attacked, touching the bottom line of the marine government and the world government at the same time. The other side. Naval headquarters. Marineford. Marshal's office. Marshal, all matters concerning the release of Akainu Admiral have been settled. A young Marine reports. Directly opposite, the sitting figure is none other than Marine's current Marshal Sengoku. Okay, you go out. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. The young Marine nodded, not hiding any excitement in his heart. Although yesterday they accidentally learned from Pelusolino Vice Admiral that Sakazuki Vice Admiral was actually promoted to Marine Admiral. But the moment of real release to the whole world. It is truly announcing to the sea that Marine has once again given birth to a supreme combat power. And Sakazuki Vice Admiral fills the original Marine Admiral position of Marshal Sengoku. No doubt this will be a huge boost to all marine powers. Believe it, it won't be long before those rampant pirates will get the news. You will understand that the real strongest force in this sea. Never those rampant pirates, are those guys who are known as the emperors of the sea in New World. But Marine is the real strongest force in this sea. Young Marine was thrilled, apparently an admirer of Akainu. And at this very moment, the fact is just as the Marine expected. Marine gave birth to a new highest combat power news. It has begun to put enormous pressure on the outside world. But just when the Marine was preparing to go down and how to celebrate the good news with his companions. Sudden. This is another reporting officer, Marine, with a frightened face, suddenly barged in. Zan, Marshal Sengoku. No, it's not good. What happened? Sengoku frowned. Yes, no, Marshal Sengoku. Marine was incoherent in a hurry. Talk slowly, Sengoku said. Even if it's a big deal right now, there's nothing that threatens Marine. Marine found Sengoku's staring gaze and calmed down slowly. Yes, Marshal Sengoku, but. Marine hesitated for a moment, then bit the bullet and said. Yes, it's the nobles of the world. God, something happened to the celestial dragons. After the words fell, the entire marshal's office was silent. In the next second, Sengoku's pupils shrank sharply. What? A strong aura flowed out involuntarily, and immediately asked. When did this happen? Sengoku's face was extremely ugly. Something happened to the celestial dragons. Why is it at such a critical juncture? Damn. What kind of lunatic? Don't you know what serious consequences will be caused by shooting celestial dragons? Marine quickly reported. Just now we received the news from the G37 branch, which was reported by the king of the kingdom of Luya. At present, things are being determined. What are you sure about? You idiot. This kind of thing should be reported as soon as possible. Sengoku couldn't help cursing. An accident happened to the nobles of the world. Such a big matter should not be reported immediately. What could be more important than this? Although Sengoku can't deny that he has never had a good impression of the world's noble celestial dragons. But this happened, no doubt, as the Marine Marshal. Sengoku knows one thing better than anyone. Dare to lay your hands on the celestial dragons. This has touched the bottom line that the world government absolutely does not allow anyone to set foot on. Those damned fools. Sengoku gritted his teeth. I don't know whether to scold those who dare to do it, or if the celestial dragons are outside at this time. But no matter what the outcome of this matter is. Since it has happened, Marine will inevitably need to dispatch the highest combat force, Marine Admiral dispatched. But right now, the highest combat power that the Marine government can mobilize. Only Akainu, who has just been promoted to Marine Admiral while carrying out the Five Elders' order. Damn it. Such an incident happened at such a time. On the same day that Marine's new highest combat power was born. An attack on the celestial dragons occurred. In a sense. What's the difference between throwing the face of the entire Marine government on the ground and stepping on it a few times? A coldness gradually appeared in Sengoku's eyes. Looking at the young Marine who was not excited before, but now almost stunned by the shock, he said. Go. Hold a meeting immediately, and let all senior executives above Vice Admiral who are currently in the headquarters participate. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. The previously excited young report was almost stunned by the news at this time. Come to yourself. He immediately ran out of the office in a hurry. Even Marine who has just joined the work. The inadvertent sense of oppression emanating from Sengoku. It can also be expected. A storm is about to play out on the first half of the Grand Line. After all, at this critical time, those who dare to do such things. It almost touched the bottom line of the Marine government and the world government at the same time. At the same time, the capital of Seven Waters. Google, did you read the newspaper published by Marine this morning? The original Marine Vice Admiral Sakazuki was promoted to Marine Admiral today, codenamed Akainu. Marine has given birth to another top fighter. Hey, I read that right, the Marine Admiral has been vacant for a few years, right? Could it be said that this Sakazuki has the strength comparable to those monsters called Sea Emperors in New World? As soon as they woke up, the people living in the capital of Seven Waters began to scramble to discuss one thing. That matter. Naturally, Marine announced to the world this morning that a new admiral was born. Although it was promoted from the original Marine Vice Admiral to Marine Admiral. But look at the history of Marine. Anyone who can serve as the highest combat power of Admiral. Undoubtedly they all represent one thing. That is Marine selected from countless monsters, and can be hailed as the existence of monsters among monsters. Because he wants to become the Marine Admiral known as the highest combat power. The prerequisite condition is that you must have extremely powerful combat power, and it must be overwhelmingly powerful. No exaggeration to describe, any Marine Admiral has the exaggerated strength to easily destroy the country. Not to mention, with Akainu promoted to Marine Admiral, the resume of being Vice Admiral is gradually being picked up. It was enough to shock countless people on the Grand Line. Because compared to other Marine Vice Admiral, Akainu's record can be described as exaggerated. Hundreds of arrests failed without exception. The pirates killed by hand are countless, more than tens of thousands of people. Also, among the pirates that Akainu encountered, there were hardly many survivors at all. In terms of means, it can be described as extremely cruel. If not Akainu as Naval Headquarters Official Admiral. I'm afraid this resume alone makes it hard not to doubt whether this admiral is a pirate or a marine who always thinks he is righteous. But anyone who sees the news released by today's World Economic News. There is one thing in my heart. The newly promoted Marine Admiral must not be easily provoked. Because Marine promotes such a person to Admiral. In a sense, it represents the signal released by Marine. Marine wants to deal with this era of pirates. There is going to be a big move. And at this time, the capital of Seven Waters. In a certain room. Marine Admiral Bai Ye looked at the newspaper in his hand, the shock in his eyes compared to the outside world. Bai Ye didn't have too many waves in his eyes. Because when the outside world did not receive the news, Stussy had already reported this matter to Bai Ye in advance. To say compared to the shock of the outside world, Bai Ye looks forward to Akainu's combat power even more. Because the stronger Akainu is, the more eligible Akainu's lava ability is to be captured. As well as, Bai Ye uses the star seal to control the door fruit ability. Let out a yelling fat figure. You hateful bastards. I must kill you. Let your hometown, relatives, and everyone you know be reduced to lowly slaves. The obese figure was tied up, and the clamor has not diminished since last night. Bai Ye witnessed this scene that was enough to shock the world. There is no wave in the eyes, there is only endless coldness of indifference. Originally, Bai Ye planned to kill the opponent directly. But that would be too cheap for this crap. Thinking of everything that happened in Mariejois on the day of birth comes to mind. Bai Ye didn't have the slightest clamor from the celestial dragons in front of him. Throw it back into the space created by the door fruit. This gift, if given to Marine without witnesses, it would be too wasteful. And this time, it should be no surprise that Naval Headquarters has received the news. Now count the time carefully. Take the location of Naval Headquarters from the capital of Seven Waters. It's almost time for Akainu to arrive, too. It's time to end this matter. Bai Ye stood up. Go outside the capital of Seven Waters. 038. Akainu arrives in the capital of Seven Waters. Advertise here. ... And at this moment, it is close to the capital of Seven Waters. Seagulls flit across the sky. This is on a large warship. Stand right here. The capital of Seven Waters, which is a large city, can already be vaguely seen ahead. Sakazuki. No, it's Akainu Admiral. Ahead is the capital of Seven Waters. The Marine adjutant who was in charge of the lookout realized that he had said something wrong, so he quickly changed his words and looked behind him. I saw that this was a man wearing a rose corsage, a dark red suit, a marine cap on his head, black leather gloves on his hands, and a Marine Admiral coat behind him. Akainu stepped out of the shadows under the sail. Showing that serious face, he said plainly. New. Yes, Akainu Admiral. The adjutant saluted, and then noticed that Akainu's eyes were fixed on the capital of Seven Waters. He hesitated and said. By the way, Akainu Admiral, there are many pirate ships in the port of the capital of Seven Waters. Those pirates, may I ask? Just execute them all on the spot. Quote. What? The adjutant froze in place. Responding quickly, he said. But Akainu Admiral, there are some other forces in those pirate ships, maybe there are ordinary people mixed in. Before he finished speaking, Akainu interrupted. It's enough to kill them all, and eliminate all evil. I don't think I need to teach you this truth. A gleam of coldness flashed in Akainu's eyes. Besides, those guys who are full of crimes, if they choose to mix into those ships, as a marine, do they want to watch the pirates escape? While speaking, Akainu revealed a powerful aura. Feeling this powerful pressure field that cannot be questioned. The adjutant looked at the approaching port of the capital of Seven Waters. Yes, Akainu Admiral. At the same time, the capital of Seven Waters, the port. Hey, Hey, look, there seems to be a marine ship over there. Marine's ship. Tisk. Marine just announced the promotion of a marine admiral monster, and then sent people to the capital of Seven Waters to build ships. Marine must have lost a lot of manpower recently. Ha ha ha. Due to the private default rules of the capital of Seven Waters. Those present did not see it as a nuisance. It's a joke. But it's hard to say. Do you think that Marine's warship came to arrest the guy who made a fuss at the auction the day before yesterday? After all, that guy is too arrogant in the capital of Seven Waters with a reward of 1,080,000,000 Baileys. Lousy feels like it should be unlikely. After all, if Marine really wants to capture that kind of monster, it would be too little to send a single ship. Ha ha ha. That's right, facing that monster, Lousy doesn't even have the intention to hold a weapon now. Many people at the port were discussing. Sudden. Boss, something seems wrong. Watching the warships approaching the capital of Seven Waters, one of the pirate's subordinates hurriedly shouted. The pirate who was discussing frowned upon hearing this. They looked in the direction they were pointing. Is Marine really planning to break the rules of the capital of Seven Waters? Aren't they afraid that all of us will be violent, and Marine will not be able to end in the capital of Seven Waters? Mumbling in disbelief, his eyes fell on the warship that was approaching constantly. Next second, the faces of the pirates present or some people from other forces gradually turned ugly. The muzzle of the Marine warship not far away gradually began to turn around. Direction. It is precisely aimed at the port position of the capital of Seven Waters under their feet. This time, everyone present was sober. Hi, Marine is playing for real this time. No, we are not pirates. Damn it, little ones. To Lousy. Boom, boom, boom. The voice has not yet fallen. The warship that had sailed into the area of the capital of Seven Waters burst into muffled noises one after another. Immediately afterwards, this was watched by many people in the port in horror. The pitch-black cannonballs flew into the sky like stars. Then it came down like a torrential rain. For a while. Boom, boom, boom. The huge sound directly resounded throughout the capital of Seven Waters. Under the continuous attack and explosion of the warship. This is a ship that was blown up and people turned their backs on their backs. A large number of people fled in panic. There were also attempts to refill the shells, against the Marine's power. As a result, the warship kept filling shells. Before the shells were fired, the entire ship was engulfed by the explosion. The shells on the ship were ignited again, causing a violent secondary explosion. Hair. What happens? This sound seems to be coming from the direction of the port. Oh my god, is there a pirate fighting in the capital of Seven Waters, ignoring the default rules? But this kind of movement can't be caused by ordinary fighting at all, right? For a moment, the residents living in the capital of Seven Waters were attracted by the sound of the explosion, and looked in the direction of the port in horror. And at this very moment, here is the port of the capital of Seven Waters, full of wreckage and corpses of their respective floating ships, panic and abuse. Some surviving pirates got up, gritted their teeth, and their eyes were bloodshot. Bastard. Damn it, Marine, you actually attacked us directly. Since you Marine choose to break the rules, don't blame us for killing. I really thought we pirates were vegetarian. Bastard Marine. And we are from the franchise country. At least let us know before we do anything. Angry voices continued to ring out from all over the port. Pirates saw the scene of heavy casualties of their subordinates, or some forces saw the tragic situation of their own ships being scrapped directly. Regardless of the injuries being affected on their bodies, they were extremely annoyed, and looked at the warship that was approaching at sea. However, just when the surviving parties were fighting one after another, a furious pirate captain standing on the broken deck at sea has already rushed forward step by step. Bastard. The pirate group that Lousy worked so hard to build. Let Lousy die. Marine. Holding a sharp blade, the pirate aimed at the figure above and slashed directly. Result. This is a scene that made the survivors on the port feel horrified. The furious pirate captain hadn't landed on the warship in midair. This was a disdainful snort from a figure next to Marine who was about to be chopped. Follow closely. Then he saw that figure with 5 fingers open. He directly grabbed the neck of the pirate captain with ease. The voice of disdain resounded through the port. It's just garbage from the sea, don't dream, is it worthy of delusion to oppose the justice of Marine? The figure disdained to finish speaking, and a scorching heat emerged from his hand. Follow closely. This is the mind of the survivors on the port gradually turning from anger to fear. The pirate captain gradually turned into ashes amidst extremely miserable screams. It is also this time. Only some pirates noticed that there was another tall Marine in a dark red suit standing on the deck of the warship. And the first time I saw that figure, their first thought is, just where the other party stood, he exuded an extremely terrifying and powerful aura. It was an absolutely invincible oppressive feeling that was enough to make one despair. Who is that guy? Someone murmured. Suddenly, as someone read the newspaper of the World Economic News that was read not long ago this morning. Then connect with the Marine who exudes a desperate and oppressive aura. The heart of this person who realized something suddenly trembled, his eyes widened, and his body couldn't stop shaking. stuttering in disbelief. I know. That guy. It seems to be the Marine Admiral that Marine announced this morning. Kai, Akainu. What? Hi, Marine Admiral. Hiss. With this sound, the pirates and other forces present all took a breath of air without exception. Some people even can't believe the loss of voice. Marine, what the hell are you kidding? Why did Marine Admiral appear here? Shouldn't monsters of that level go to destroy the monsters in New World? Unbelievable sounds keep appearing in the port. Follow closely. It is the presence of pirates, bounty hunters, or people from other forces. When it was discovered that the leader of the warship turned out to be Marine Admiral, the only thought left in my mind was, escape, run away. Definitely not to stay here. Because of his highest combat power against Marine, he can be called the Admiral of Monsters. No doubt. That is, the existence of monsters that they can never win no matter what. 039. Marine Admiral's overwhelming combat power, Bai Ye confronts Akainu. Advertise here. Although I can't believe that Marine sent an admiral here. But all the terrified people in the place believed in one thing without exception. That's absolutely, and a real monster of monsters. Any Marine Admiral. They are all possessing absolutely overwhelming combat power and standing at the top of the sea. And at this time, faced with the port that was completely thrown into chaos with the appearance of Akainu. On the warship, Akainu Admiral, those guys seem to be ready to run away. The adjutant looked anxious and said, "What should I do? If you want to continue the bombardment, you may actually be injured by accident." Before the words fell, Akainu pushed the adjutant away and said in a deep voice, "Step aside." The adjutant stared blankly at Akainu who was standing at the front of the deck. And at this time, Akainu's eyes flickered coldly. Witnessing the frantically fleeing pirates, he slowly grasped it with his 5 fingers, and the scalding heat began to emerge along with the lava. The lava dripped on the deck, and immediately melted and corroded potholes. Only then did the adjutant understand why Akainu Admiral asked him to get out of the way. From a distance of several meters, he felt a shocking and terrifying heat wave coming towards him. If it's really stained with that lava. Gouda, is this Admiral's sense of oppression? The adjutant swallowed a mouthful of saliva. And at this moment, Akainu aimed his lava-emerging hands towards the sky. Shen Sheng said, "It's just a crime that should be eradicated. Pirates, don't underestimate Marine's justice." Die. Boom, boom, boom. This is a bunch of fist-shaped lava carrying terrifying temperatures flying high into the sky, sinking straight into the clouds. That guy, what the hell is he doing? The attack actually hit the sky. Did it miss? This scene fell into the eyes of the forces fleeing frantically at the port. Many people stopped, and some forces who were completely involved tried to negotiate terms with Akainu. Wait, we're not pirates. We're just people who come to buy a boat. However, the words are not finished yet. In the next second, as flames gradually began to appear in the sky and atmosphere, the sound of the atmosphere being torn apart sounded. All those who were fleeing at the scene subconsciously looked at the blue sky, their eyes gradually widened, their chins grew long, cold sweat rolled down their foreheads, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Cheat, right. This must be a dream, right? Is that guy really still human? Quick, find a cover. I saw endless fear in the hearts of everyone on the port. It was fist-shaped lava with terrifying high temperature that tore through the sky and the clouds, dyeing the original blue sky into a piece of red. It's like a burning cloud covering everything and occupying the entire sky. But those exaggerated, flaming meteorites landed, but they carried suffocating heat and enveloped the entire port of the 7 waters below. Now, many people in the port looked at Akainu who shouted, "Meteor volcano," in a deep voice. Everyone felt uncontrollably a surge of fear from the soles of their feet to their foreheads. Strange. Monster. That is a monster that would make any force on the Grand Line fall into despair. And that, it is the apex that can be hailed as the highest combat power by Marine. Marine Admiral. Under the ultimate fear. Whether the people on the port are pirates or other forces. While preparing to escape, he suddenly found that his legs were no longer in control. When you come back to your senses. Those flaming meteorites that were constantly enlarged in everyone's fearful pupils had already fallen from the fiery red sky. That scorching heat wave has eroded everything. It's over. Someone knelt down on the ground helplessly. In the next second, a devastating disaster erupted in the entire port, like a natural disaster. The surviving ships that had not sunk into the sea were directly swallowed completely. A large number of people were unable to move their bodies due to fear, and could only watch helplessly as their bodies were engulfed by the terrifying heat and eventually turned into ashes. And what's even more frightening is that when those fist-shaped flaming meteorites fall to the ground, they will shatter while melting everything due to the huge impact. When those shattered high-temperature lava touch the ground, it will trigger a secondary explosion again. For a while, the port of the capital of 7 waters was engulfed by a far more terrifying explosion than the shells. The roiling heat wave was like a demon that devoured everything, killing all possible survivors. When everything slowly starts to calm down, this is a scene that is enough to make the scalps of any onlookers tingle. A huge port that originally docked hundreds of ships. Now it has been covered by a sea of flames, and a large number of human bodies are occupied by burnt ashes. The sea water is also extremely hot, and white mist of steam is constantly emitting, covering everything. Like one of the largest ports on the Grand Line. Now it has completely turned into a lava flame hell. And this time, Marine's warship. Watching this scene, the sailors who followed Akainu were also shocked to the extreme. Just a trick. It easily and completely ruined the port where hundreds of ships docked. And that blow killed at least hundreds of people. Moreover, this is probably the result of Akainu Admiral not planning to bury the entire capital of Seven Waters. Otherwise, Gouda, is this the strength of Admiral? Too powerful. It's not like the overwhelming power of humans at all. Mr. Sakazuki. That's amazing. This scene will definitely be photographed by the World Economic News and shock the whole world. Marine on the warship was relieved. They noticed a few albatrosses with cameras hanging around their necks suddenly flying in the distance, and they looked at Akainu with excitement and shock. At the same time, streets near the port, on the roof below where the terrified crowd fled. Is this the power of Marine Admiral? Robin looked at the port that seemed to be completely shattered in the flames and lava hell, his pupils froze and flickered in shock. But I thought of the name of the Marine general who came this time. Robin's slender girl clenched her 5 fingers into a fist. Sakazuki. This name is one she will never forget. Although Robin did not know the identity of the other Marine who ordered to attack the civilian ship leader besides Aokiji because of the Ohara incident that day. But inquire secretly in the underground dark world. Robin still knows the name. Marine Vice Admiral Sakazuki. But only compared to then. Robin didn't expect to meet him again, and the Marine who turned Ohara into her life's nightmare has now become Marine Admiral. And it appeared right in front of her eyes. At the foot of this capital of 7 waters. You don't want to participate in this battle. Bai Ye next to Robin made a sound. Robin looked at Bai Ye, thinking of the completely shattered port. Worried in my heart. Although she believes in Bai Ye unreservedly now, since Marine Admiral can be hailed as the highest combat power of Marine. It is definitely a monster standing in the top ranks of this sea. Bai Ye saw Robin's thoughts. Shook his head and said. Rest assured. After speaking, Bai Ye looked at the fragmented lava hell port. Yi Leap walked in the opposite direction of the frightened and evacuated crowd, and did not forget to say. I never do anything I'm not sure of, and, from the very beginning, even if I didn't find him, Marine would be an obstacle in my way. Quote. After finishing speaking, Bai Ye's red eyes flashed a touch of indifference and coldness. The other side. On the warship. Listen to the Marine cheering on the warship below. Facing this scene, Akainu's face remained unchanged. He just snorted coldly at the port of the capital of the 7 waters that was buried, and said in a deep voice. They're just a bunch of scum, and they still try to negotiate terms with Marine, what a bunch of idiots. Next, it's time to get down to business. The evil seed must. Akainu is not finished yet. Sudden. The phone bug in his pocket for the exclusive contact with Marshal Marine rang quickly. Akainu frowned. If Marshal Sengoku has nothing serious to do, he should not bother him. However, at this moment, Akainu suddenly looked towards the direction of the port. Akainu changed his voice and said in a deep voice. It seems that I don't need to look for it. The target has already been sent to the door, ready to die. What? The adjutant was taken aback. Subconsciously followed Akainu's gaze. The adjutant's face couldn't help but change afterwards. I saw that on a completely fragmented port that looked like a lava hell. The white mist formed by the scalding sea gradually dissipated. A young figure slowly appeared. The boy exuded a unique temperament, with black hair, and a pair of red pupils that were so deep that no one dared to look directly at him. While he and Akainu Admiral looked at each other. The boy was also looking at them. How is it possible? Under the attack of Admiral just now, there are still people alive. Lie. The adjutant said in disbelief. And this time, while answering the call bug, Akainu looked directly at the boy's figure, and said in a cold tone. You are really an arrogant guy. As the source of evil that should be eradicated by justice in this world, he dared to show up on his own initiative. I thought a brat should have been scared away just now. The source of evil that should be erased by justice. When Bai Ye who came to the port heard the words, the indifference in his eyes remained unchanged. Feel the fragmentation of everything around you. The tone made no secret of disdain, and said. Whether it's the world government or the marine government that is willing to be a dog, it's all hypocrisy to the extreme, nothing more. The voice fell and echoed in this sea area. Marine on the warship's face changed drastically almost immediately, and he subconsciously looked at Akainu Admiral. Google. As that guy, crazy. How dare you mock Akainu Admiral as a running dog in front of Akainu Admiral? As that guy actively provoking Akainu Admiral. Crazy. After seeing Akainu Admiral's completely overwhelming combat power. Facing the appearance of this young man, all the Marines present couldn't help being shaken in their hearts without exception. Madman. This is their first impression. On the Grand Line, and also witnessed the overwhelming combat power of Akainu Admiral. How dare he mock Akainu Admiral? Isn't this courting death? Marine on the warship couldn't help holding his breath, and subconsciously looked at Akainu Admiral. 040. It's time for Tianlongzu to play. ... And at this moment, Akainu heard the words. The whole face instantly darkened. The 5 fingers began to make a fist, and hot lava emerged from the fist. When Akainu raised his head again, his eyes flickered coldly. It's just an eloquent kid. How can he understand the justice of the Marine? And the judgment of the world government? Just let me send you this evil seed that should be eradicated to the underworld. Quote. An incomparably powerful aura erupted from Akainu. The warship under his feet began to crumble instantly. But at this moment, Sengoku's voice came from the phone bug Akainu had just answered. Sakazuki, can you hear me? Notice Sengoku's snappy tone in phone bug. Akainu frowned, brought the phone bug to his mouth, and asked in a deep voice. Marshal Sengoku, what happened? Akainu was a little puzzled. Judging from Sengoku's urgent tone, something big must have happened. But something that can make Sengoku anxious is the Marine Marshal. Is it the pirates of New World who are about to move? Or was Naval Headquarters the same event that the Golden Lion invaded Marineford alone? Akainu's face darkened again. However, a command came from the phone bug that surprised Akainu. If you haven't arrived at the capital of the Seven Waters yet, cancel the mission immediately. Return. What? Return flight. Akainu's complexion changed slightly. Could it be that even the order issued by the world government? Akainu subconsciously looked at Bai Ye with cold eyes. Sengoku's extremely sure voice came again from the phone bug. That's right, because just this morning, Naval Headquarters received news of the disappearance of the nobles of the world. As Marine Admiral, you should understand what this means, right? The nobles of the world. Hearing this word, Akainu's face finally couldn't stop being moved. And Marine behind Akainu was even more sluggish, and his heart was beating wildly. The nobles of the world disappeared. It should be the world noble they imagined, right? Crazy. This piece of sea. How dare anyone take a shot at celestial dragons? Don't you know what serious consequences that will cause? No, not right. On this sea, whether it's 4 seas, the first half of the Grand Line, or the second half of the Grand Line known as New World. Even if it is a rookie pirate who has just debuted. Everyone should be very clear about the heavy meaning behind the world noble, celestial dragons. That is the absolute privileged class that dominates and stands on this sea for 800 years, the world government, a colossal monster that no force dares to provoke. Meanwhile, celestial dragons, the nobles of the world, can act recklessly regardless of any rules. And once the world's noble celestial dragons are injured, even if the skin is scratched, the world government will immediately carry out the wanted. And under the Marine government, Naval Headquarters will not hesitate to dispatch the highest combat force, Admiral, to dispatch. Go forth and deal with anything that threatens the safety of the celestial dragons. Distance, time, place, identity. It doesn't matter. Marine Admiral will definitely shoot directly to obliterate. One can imagine. The world aristocrat celestial dragons is the bottom line that the world government must never touch. Once at sea, encounter the celestial dragons, the nobles of the world. Don't talk about the idea of fighting the world's noble celestial dragons. Even the most ferocious pirates will subconsciously avoid them without hesitation and change their course, for fear of causing endless trouble. One can imagine the terrifying pressure behind the celestial dragons, the nobility of the world. It is so terrifying in this sea. Then, imagine when they learned that Marshal Sengoku personally told the news about the accident of the world's noble celestial dragons. Shock given to all Marines on board. Damn. Akainu gritted his teeth. He can already think of it. This matter will definitely attract the attention of the world government and the Marine government. And this happened on the very day he was promoted to Admiral. However, now it has encountered the target of obliteration ordered by the world government. Akainu's icy eyes became more chilly, and he looked at Bai Ye. Time is running out, let me personally send you to Wangquan first. With that said, Akainu is ready to unleash Great Eruption. Completely obliterate the price of all evil. However, as the eyes of the capital of Seven Waters are attracted to this ruined port because of Akainu's meteor volcano, Bai Ye felt almost done. So he took out the star medal that contained the door fruit ability. In the next second, there was a scene that made Akainu stop abruptly, and his face shrunk sharply. You bastard! Akainu gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Because Akainu saw it, it was a figure as fat as a pig and fell to Bai Ye's feet from a green space. Although that figure as fat as a pig looked miserable. But as Marine Admiral, how could Akainu fail to recognize it? The air bubbles on the fat pig's head are exactly one of the exclusive items of celestial dragons, known as the world's nobles. In other words, Akainu gritted his teeth and said. The missing celestial dragons, so you made it. Brat. Akainu yelled out almost in a roar at the end. Also this same time. Behind Akainu was the Marine who was shocked that there was a lunatic on the sea who dared to attack the celestial dragons. The moment when you hear the words. Look at the fat hair under Bai Ye's feet. Ah no, it's the world's noble celestial dragons. Marine who was present felt an irrepressible chill rushing to his forehead almost instantly. World noble celestial dragons. Yes, did that guy do it? Cheat, lie. The guy who dared to attack the world's noble celestial dragons is right in front of our eyes. Marine collectively felt terrified, and his breathing almost stopped. However, soon, Marine, who was present, suddenly found the albatross on the observation deck with wings still holding a camera to take pictures, and immediately realized another thing in a shudder. Those albatrosses affiliated with World Economic News also filmed the scene that happened here. At that time. Once these albatrosses send the photos to the World Economic News Agency. Gulp. Marine present couldn't help swallowing saliva. Thereafter, they noticed the boy's next move. The pupils suddenly widened in an instant. Could it be? The other party was almost deliberately waiting for Akainu Admiral to come. Plus the celestial dragons are missing. What happened here is enough to attract the attention of the whole world. Is that madman just waiting for this moment?